And it's 2 days to the Joy News National Media Freedom Dialogue on defending media freedom ahead of the December general elections. Welcome to the AM show with me, Sweetie Abochi. Good morning. It's the second day of the week, and as the stories unfold and the issues come up, you want to trust us to bring you details and updates on everything happening in and around the country. This morning, I'll start by serving you the AM News, the first news bulletin on the Joy News channel, and we get into our news review segment. Philemon La Esquire from the NDC Communications team, as well as lawyer Enoch Afuakwa from the NPP Communications team, will be joining us to review the various stories captured in the newspapers. Mukhtar Nabil Abdullahi then comes your way with AM Sports, and then our big stories will begin. Of course, the biggest story in the country right now is that drought situation and the address from the Ministry of Agriculture. Now, that drought in 8 regions is forcing government to, with an immediate effect, ban export of maize, rice and soya bean in a move to avert a looming food crisis. Now, the situation is also estimated to cause some revenue loss of about 10.4 billion Ghana cedis, and the Ministry of Finance is in the process of raising some 8 billion Ghana cedis in a bid to bring some relief to the affected farmers. We will discuss this is heavy on our table, and we'll bring you all the nitty-gritty and the angles of this issue. Also, in gearing up for the 3rd clinic of EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair, Get a House, Make It a Home, we will discuss the issues to consider when acquiring a land and related matters to getting a home for yourself. Later, you also get to have your say on the show as we do some time to open the phone lines for you. But for now, if you're following the show, you can comment and share your thoughts with us via social media at Joy News on TV across all social media platforms. Welcome aboard the AM show, folks. Let's start with the AM News now. Stay with us. This is the AM News. Let's get into the details. Starting with the West African Examination Council says it will strictly enforce rules governing all examinations under its supervision. The statement follows the prevention of some 7 candidates from partaking in the ongoing West Africa School Certificate Examination on Monday. The students from Laboni Senior High School arrived more than 1 hour late to the center located at the school's Accra campus and blamed their inability to meet their reporting time on the traffic situation. But authorities there won't have any of that, sending them away. Prince Kudoga has more in this report.
Social Studies Paper 2 is the first sit-down exam of this year's West African School Certificate Examination, WASI. At the Osu Presbyterian Senior High School, over 15 candidates reported late and were nearly denied access. But there was no luck for some 7 others at the Laboni Senior High School. They were prevented from entering the exam hall altogether because they had arrived 1 hour after the exam had started. Head of the center, Rejoice Aku Akolo, who is also headmistress of the Laboni Senior High School, explains the decision to deny the candidates access.
If you stay out of an exam over an hour, what were you doing outside? We want them to be seated. We are all around. As a supervisor of the exam, I need to conduct the exam in a more conducive atmosphere. And I am not happy that the students came that late. We were all over everywhere looking for them, only for them to surface in group that late. And this is not the first time they have come late.
Some of the students who spoke to Joy News blamed the traffic situation for their lateness.
I came late, actually. But I'm from a far place, I'm from Dodowa. And then there's traffic on the way. So it's not deliberately that I want to come late. I know I have errors, I have to come in. But there's traffic on the way. I can't do anything about it.
The head of the National Office of WAEC, Dr. Rosemond Wilson, agreed with the decision and said the conduct of the candidates amounts to a violation of the rules governing the examination.
Normally, when they start at the time that they have to start 8:30, most of the students keep on staying outside and waiting for, in quotes, APO and other things. So that was why the rules was revised, and we said they should come in and stay in 30 minutes before the start of each paper. So the rules have already been revised and considered.
Meanwhile, Deputy Education Minister Reverend Intim Forjo says his office will look into the matter.
The rules are very clear, and therefore I would want to find out the exact incident that happened and obtain full details of it. There are rules to every examination, and I'll appeal that all stakeholders abide by that rule. If you're a student, go by the rules. If you're an invigilator, go by the rules. If you're a WAEC, go by the rules. So in this particular instance you cited, I'll look into it. It hasn't come to my attention, but thanks for bringing it to my attention. We will look into it and put things right where they have to be put right.
A total of 460,611 students are sitting for this year's examination across the 16 regions of the country. Prince Kwame Kuduga's report for Joy News.
The National Democratic Congress in the Northern Region has accused the Electoral Commission of transferring the vote of some people in the region without their knowledge. According to the NDC, the incidents have happened in the Tamale South and Sagnarigu constituencies in the region. The party said one person has been handed over to the police with 32 voter ID cards belonging to some individuals. Addressing a press conference in Tamale, the Northern Regional Secretary of the party, Mohammed Abdul Salam, said 2 people in Tamale South and 1 in the Sagnarigu constituency visited their centers to check on the names, only to be told that their votes had been transferred to Pusiga without their consent.
The Electoral Commission began the voter exhibition exercise on the 20th of August and is expected to be completed on the 27th of August 2024 as part of processes leading to the December polls. But the NDC in the Northern Region said they have uncovered a plot by the Electoral Commission to sabotage the process. Addressing the media in Tamale, the Northern Regional Secretary of the NDC, Mohammed Abdul Salam, said the only way these transfers could have been done is with the aid of the Electoral Commission. Therefore, they are demanding some answers.
What we have in hand today is the case that 2 polling stations in the Tamale South constituency and 1 in the Sagnarigu constituency, voters had turned out to respond to the invitation of the EC to check their names on the voter roll, only to be told that their votes have been transferred. These transfer of votes are unknown to the people. They did not consent to any transfer. They don't even know their way to Pusiga, let alone for anybody to transfer their vote to Pusiga. So we commenced our investigations to ask questions if there's been any occasion that somebody had taken their voter ID card, and it revealed a certain gentleman called Lukman Al-Hassan, a teacher by profession, who is currently in police custody, invited 2 people and lured them with the belief that some Arab philanthropist was coming to do them a favor by doling out gifts, and they were in the process of registering people, but they must get their voter ID cards for registration. These our illiterate brothers fell prey to his tricks and assembled voter ID cards for him in expectation of the benefits that the Arab man will bring. So immediately we started hunting for this gentleman. You call him, he will give you a different direction. He lives in this direction, that direction. But last night, lo and behold, thanks to our team on the ground, we hunted him out and got the police to arrest him after 11 p.m. last night. He's currently in police custody.
He said these people never appeared in person, yet their votes were transferred.
We have in our possession, as we speak to you, a total number of 32 voter ID cards. And all these people we have verified have been transferred to the Pusiga constituency. Yet none of these people appeared even in Upper East, not to talk about Pusiga constituency, to demand the transfer of their votes. The question we are asking the EC this morning, we have reported to the EC regional director. For the last 2 days, we told him we are looking for the man to arrest, for us to get the police to investigate. After his arrest, we have equally notified the EC regional director. He's been to the police station to see the person. We've reported to the district director of Electoral Commission, Tamalumitru. And the police are currently having grips of the guy. We are taking our people there to also give their statements. Their names are found in the 2020 register, those of them who were eligible to vote in 2020. But in the 2024 register, which the EC made available to political parties, their names are missing. Okay? Yet when you use the EC's own code provided to check, it confirms that they have been transferred to Pusiga constituency. Now we are asking that who in the EC's list of employees executed the transfers?
Thousands of residents across communities dotted along the Songo Lagoon in the Adan East and West districts of the Accra or the Greater Accra region are set to benefit from a 1,000-acre outgrower salt mining scheme launched by Electrochem Ghana Limited. The company's initiative aims to boost the local economy by granting residents mining concessions with a guaranteed market. So far, 7 community groups have joined the initiative, which is expected to tackle youth unemployment in the area and boost sustainable salt mining. Carlos Caloni reports.
Open to all eligible citizens of Adan East and West districts, the 1,000-acre outgrower salt mining scheme launched by Electrochem Ghana Limited aims to empower local salt miners and transform the economic fortunes of Adan residents. At the launch, a CEO of Electrochem, Abdul Razak Adam, highlighted the initiative's importance in technology transfer for sustainable salt production and job creation for the local communities.
As of today, we have 70 community plans that are either completed or at various stages of completion across 7 different project-affected communities. These plans are constructed at full expense of Electrochem and handed over at free of charge to the communities. So far, 499 acres have been earmarked to be done. The medium-term to long-term vision is take this to about 1,000 acres. One of the core values of this initiative is about enhancing socioeconomic development. Through this scheme, community members will have the opportunity as identifiable group to pool resources and knowledge to establish themselves as registered businesses. Some of these businesses will train them on responsible mining with our own resources. We'll train them on business management, and we train them with sound entrepreneurship, bookkeeping, and what have you, to make sure that they indeed become successful businesses.
Delivering a speech at the launch on behalf of the Paramount Chief of Adan, Nene Kabuakwaku III, Mankralo of Adan Traditional Council, Nene Agude Obitre II, urged residents to take advantage of the scheme. He also appealed to the company to expand quickly to other parts of the lagoon to boost local employment.
We are witnessing the additional grant of land areas to indigenes for salt making under what we call the outgrowers model. I urge all persons who have had doubts and apprehensions about EGL's involvement of local communities in salt mining to take this opportunity to apply to be allotted portions for their use in salt mining. I want to remind everyone that we owe it a sacred duty to ensure the rapid rollout of EGL's operation to uncover the entire list as quickly as possible, to increase employment avenues available to our people.
Beneficiaries who say they are grateful for the coming of the scheme believe the project has the potential to transform the economic fortunes of local residents.
These outgrowers is not only going to be business as usual, but our people will benefit from capacity building, technology transfer, making our people very resourceful in the future. Electrochem in Adan, it is God-given.
In all, 2,000 acres of land have been allocated for the entire community plants project, as well as the outgrower a scheme which has been launched by the Electrochem company. It is expected to benefit thousands of residents in communities dotted along the lagoon here in the Adan East and West district of the Greater Accra region. My name is Carlos Caloni for Joy News.
As gaming becomes more entrenched in our daily lives, the Gaming Commission of Ghana is making a decisive move to ensure that entertainment doesn't come with a hidden price. Celebrating 18 years since its inception, the Commission has announced its first ever Responsible Gaming Month, an initiative designed to protect users and promote sustainability in an industry that's rapidly evolving. My colleague Jacqueline Ansamayabwa has more in this report.
In Ghana, gaming has become more than just a leisure activity. It's become a thriving industry, getting bigger by day. With users hopping onto the platform from all corners of the country, the need for responsible gaming practices has never been more crucial. The CEO of the Gaming Commission, Peter Mreku, has revealed that the Responsible Gaming Month initiative is aimed at protecting players and ensuring the industry remains sustainable.
We've realized that the gaming industry, is evolved in many ways. Initially, when I started, we were only looking at sports betting. We didn't have much online games on. We didn't have the interactive games, online casinos, and so forth and so on. This time, technology and things are changing by the day. So the Gaming Commission, and since things are changing by the day, we're getting much more people, especially the youth, who are engaging in gaming.
The Commission's CEO emphasized that the introduction of Responsible Gaming Month is all about awareness, raising the bar on what it means to game responsibly, from using safer gaming tools to understanding the importance of responsible play.
What we are trying to tell them especially is that we're setting this month aside to let them all understand that, gaming should be enjoyed as a leisure activity, not as a business that's to engage in for profit as well. As we're looking at educating them, letting them understand that it's a leisure activity, we also have to look at those who are betting and to bet responsibly. We're looking at the social aspect of it too as well, and also looking at the operators to be given back to society and be given back to the environment which they operate in. And as much as we're looking at revenue too as well for the country, we should also look at the other side of it.
As gaming continues to spread across Ghana, initiatives like Responsible Gaming Month could be key in ensuring that excitement of gaming doesn't come with unintended consequences. For Joy News, I am Jacqueline Ansamayabwa.
In other stories, Copy Ghana, in partnership with the National Commission on Culture, has initiated a nationwide workshop series aimed at raising awareness about intellectual property rights in Ghana. The workshop emphasizes the significance of protecting intellectual property and discusses the collective licensing of text and image-based works. At a session held in Cape Coast, the organization pledged to fight for the intellectual property rights of artists. There's more in this report.
The workshop focused on the importance of intellectual property rights, collective licensing for text and image-based works. Board chairman of Copy Ghana, Asari Kunedu Yamwa, says there certainly should be sanctions for copyright breaches.
Yes, there are sanctions. The Copyright Act stipulates that the permission to use those works belongs to the author or to the creator, and therefore there are specified sanctions. You can be imprisoned. Once the infringement is drawn to the attention of the law, you can go to court. They also have the criminal aspect, where you are able to, the author or the creator is able to demonstrate that, yes, indeed, his or her work has been infringed upon. The law will take its course, and the writer or the author or the creator has the right to take you to court.
Executive Director for the National Commission on Culture, Nana Ochio Owoahina Champon says artists need to be protected.
We all agree that copyright is a critical aspect of our creative industry, and its importance is felt across various sectors, from arts, literature, to music and technology. Knowledge in this field will help practitioners, especially visual artists, to operate accordingly and reap the benefits associated with reprographic rights. We hope to be more enhanced as visual arts practitioners and as cultural practitioners in terms of our practice and benefits in this direction, as well as visual art creatives.
The Executive Director of Copy Ghana, Joseph Jima, called for the respect of intellectual property rules in Ghana.
Our mandate does not only cover local right holders. We also deal with international right holders. In fact, most of the books that are used at the tertiary level are from, international right holders. And with our partnerships with UKCLA, CCC of America, CLNZ of New Zealand, MAC of Malaysia, and the likes, we are able to remit some funds. When we collect monies, we allocate a percentage for foreign right holders, and remit that to them to also onwardly distribute to their members or people they represent. Aside this, we also would normally keep a chunk of the money somewhere for right holders yet unknown. But these monies are, per our distribution rules, the law mandates us to set rules, are only meant to be in the kitty for 3 years. After 3 years, if any other right holder outside these member associations that we work with don't come, it goes back into the main pool and we redistribute such monies.
Copy Ghana's initiative emphasizes the need for artists to have in-depth knowledge on registering artistic work with the right institutions and safeguard their works from unnecessary reproduction without permission. Abdullah Osman's report read to you.
Coming up next is Business Update. In business, Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam is warning of serious impacts on the economy as a result of the dry situation in northern Ghana. The minister is worried about how inflation could be a major casualty. Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam has been speaking at a media briefing in Accra.
When you see food shortage and therefore the effect on prices, you should expect that inflation will respond, and will respond in the way that you do not want. Then we are also talking about bringing in food for the market and also to provide food reliefs. I'm here to discuss with the minister how we are going to source the food. He may be running away from mentioning imports, but we already import a lot of our food. And so one other ways the economy may be affected is from the perspective of foreign exchange. People are complaining the cedi is getting weaker against the dollar, the rate is higher against the cedi. And so if you are going to bring in more food to support what we already have, you need to back it with forex. And therefore the demand for the dollar will certainly increase relative to what we anticipated if we didn't have to meet the additional food requirement, some of which may come through imports. And so, in different ways, the economy is going to be affected.
Commercial banks are expecting interest rates to drop further as a result of falling inflation in order to formulate a more sustainable lending program to support businesses. According to the Managing Director for GCB Bank, Michael Adomako, this will help in bringing down the high non-performing loans in the banking sector. Mr. Adomako was speaking to journalists after addressing some investors and shareholders on the fact behind the figures series as a Ghana Stock Exchange.
As you saw in the Bank of Ghana report, NPLs are high, over 20% in the industry. Yes, GCB as an individual bank, NPLs have come down slightly, but they are still high. They are not where we want to be. They are outside of our risk appetite, and we still need to work hard to bring NPLs down. What are we going to do about it? Tighter underwriting standards, working with our customers to understand their businesses better and structure deals better. But the real fundamental issue is interest rates are high. Okay, so we have to find ways and means of getting our customers to attain liquidity, to attain financing without necessarily borrowing. We're doing a lot of structured trade finance types of transactions, which are structured in such a way that they don't have to borrow and pay the kind of interest rate. But the good news is that inflation is coming down, interest rates are coming down. I know the Bank of Ghana is watching very closely. The pressures are still there. I think at the right time, monetary policy rates will also come down, the GRR rates will come down, and we'll get ourselves into a more sustainable lending program to support Ghanaian businesses and individuals so that businesses can do. It is in the interest of banks that interest rates are sustainable. Because if interest rates are sustainable, we can lend more, we can make more money, we can create more value for our shareholders, and our customers can also pay back our loans.
Now let's go for our currency markets update. And that ends the AM News Bulletin on the AM Show. Stay with us. News review coming up shortly. Lawyer Philemon La from the NDC Communications team, as well as lawyer Enoch Afuakwa from the NPP Communications team are joining us to review the newspapers. Coming up next. Welcome to the news review segment on the AM Show on Joy News, your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. And it's a reminder again that it's just 2 days to that national dialogue on defending press freedom coming to you right here on the Joy News channel. This morning, I have two lawyers in the studio with me from the NPP and NDC Communications team. From the camp of NDC, we have lawyer Philemon La. And then from the camp of the NPP, we have lawyer Enoch Afuakwa. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good morning, sweetie.
Good morning. How are you feeling this morning?
Very well, very well, very well. Very confident about the prospects of this country and the NDC government.
Okay, let's get right into it. And you seem eager to share what's happening from the camp of the NDC.
The manifesto.
So what usually, at the start of the program, we'll give our guests a minute, 2 minutes tops, to walk us through what's top of their mind. So this is your take.
Well, I am excited because I heard President Mahama deliver the manifesto of the NDC, and I'm so happy about the prospects of change, of resetting this country. I'm very excited about the fact that the nepotism and corruption and massive depletion, dissipation of the public funds of this country will be a thing of the past under the NDC government. It will never be said of an NDC government that an appointee of the NDC has benefited from scholarships. It will never be the case that under the NDC there will be state capture. Unlike the case where ministers and appointees of this MPP government are grabbing lands and contracts and the juiciest parts of government at the expense of the mass of our people. It will never be said. It will never be said under the government of President Mahama that persons living with disabilities will pay fees in universities. It will never be said under the government of President Mahama that first-year students in the universities, in fact, not only universities, but tertiary institutions all across this country will pay fees for first years. It will never be said of that. I'm very excited because President Mahama comes on the back of someone who has experienced the reins of government, someone who was prophetic enough to say, Bawumia, you have come nowhere near the presidency before. You do not know what it takes to lead a country. He said that. He said that, and today we have been vindicated because when you look left, you look right, you see nothing but incompetence, you see nothing but massive depletion. Look, the economy of this country, we have gone down. Look at our GDP ratio.
All right, your 2 minutes.
Just a minute to just land on this issue of the debt to GDP. Under the NDC government, our debt to GDP ratio was about 55%. Under this MPP government, in 2022, it was 94%.
Mr. La, you
in
have
2023,
of
it is 89%.
To
And the IMF,
Mr. La,
IMF
should I leave the
in
show
2024, it will go to 98%.
I see you're coming in hot. And I'm saying to you that you have plenty of opportunity. Usually we don't do this.
Very well.
But for the sake of our audience, so we can have a conversation, I'm going to be timing you.
Very well.
Even when we read the stories and we're discussing, I will not interrupt you. And if you have some follow-up or you want to probe, you can jot down whatever it is you want to talk about. And then when you get the chance, you speak. So that we are not overlapping each other and just causing a scene without, letting our audience understand what we are discussing. Enoch Afakwa.
Sweetie Abochi.
Your 2 minutes take.
Yeah, let me say a very good morning to our viewers and extend the greetings of His Excellency, the incoming President of the Republic of Ghana, the quintessential Vice President, the PLS Vice President of our time, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. In fact, he has demonstrated that he represents the future of our country. Last Saturday, I was highly aroused that the NDC organized a mammoth Copyfesto launch to endorse the major bold policies.
I want to get that word again. Copyfesto?
Copyfesto launch in Winneba to endorse most of the bold solutions of Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. That is why I see that as a copyfesto, because they have clearly plagiarized most of Dr. Bawumia's policies. And it shows that, yes, the man Bawumia has been destined to lead, and to lead is to serve, as he has always been termed as he has always referred to leadership as service to mankind. Dr. Bawumia has demonstrated, without any shred of equivocation, that yet, given the opportunity, he has not served as president before. He has been vice president. And we all tout him as the most peerless, as the most visionary, as the most forward-thinking and forward-looking personality of our time, as far as leadership is concerned. He has really defined what leadership is. And I was happy that during his 4 hours engagement with you, the press, no member of the press asked the question of corruption as far as the stewardship of Dr. Bawumia as vice president was concerned. I was highly amazed that nobody asked him, have you ever been corrupt? Whether as a human being or as vice president. Nobody asked him, are you the government official one?
Yeah.
So it shows that the integrity of Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, it's foolproof.
Okay.
And that given the opportunity, and granted that he's given the opportunity under Article 57 to be the leader of the executive governance that we have in this country, and chairman of cabinet under Article 78, he will be able to demonstrate all the work without to be able to propel our country into the path of prosperity and the growth that we deserve as a country.
Right. So I just want to do this quickly. Yesterday, we were discussing the NDC's manifesto just launched. And I had political analysts or scientists, Dr. Kwame Asasante, even Dr. John Osai Kwapong, Professor Lord Mensah. And it appears that in rating both manifestos, it appears that they prefer, or they think that the NDC manifesto had more weight, had more, targeted approaches to how to deal with the issues in comparison to the NPP's manifesto. I'm saying this because you said they put out what, a copy first of a manifesto.
Copy first.
If they're copying you, and I mean it's theirs to use. If they did copy you, it's theirs to use how they want to, however they want to. How come they've done a more detailed job than what you put out?
Sweetie, how can a 77-page document be so detailed as compared to over a 240-page document? It certainly tells you that the NDC were not prepared. They only copied the NPP manifesto and just put out something out.
All right.
Just just to tell Ghanaians that they also have a document.
All right.
They have been in opposition for almost 8 years. And what is the anchor policy that they have that has been part of the NDC from 2016 up to date? Certainly none. Are you getting it? So they are only engaging in what we call they are only engaging what we call Yentungum. What is 24-hour economy? We will get there.
Look, I just want to remind you, gentlemen, we have to get into the pay. I just want to remind you that we are doing this so our audience can get the best out of this conversation. Certainly. So remember that I'm timing you, and don't try to interrupt the other person when he's speaking. I'll start with the Daily Graphic.
I'll get a chance to rest. He's spoken clearly more than...
I'll give you 30 seconds, quickly. Let's go.
The fact, you see, that impression that that word he used is a word I don't even want to repeat. I'll give you empirical evidence to show you that the NDC was years ahead in thought and in passion and patriotism than the NPP. At page 7 of our youth manifesto, we spoke about carrying out an aggressive Bird for All program. That's in our youth manifesto. And we launched it before their manifesto. But also on page 27, they repeat the same thing. Who has copied who? On page 22 of our 2020 manifesto, we speak about broadening the tax net. But they have spoken about it in page 21 of their 2024 manifesto.
All right.
Who has copied who?
Thank you.
Oh, I mean, let me expose him. Let me
Remember,
let him
we have to get into the papers.
It is not a copy.
We have to get into the papers.
It is the effort of a political party that has no message.
Then we also
I'd have to mute you. Right. On the front page of the Daily Graphic, on this, the biggest story in the country, the drought we're experiencing, government outlines 8 billion Ghana cedis agric support, provides 1,000 Ghana cedis per hectare incentive to farmers. President inaugurates Temamoto Way School Junction Road project. And on the effects of galamsey, risk of cleft lip rises. Multi-billion city roads initiative launched in Tamale. And President Akufo, okay, that's just a photo of him cutting sword for that Temamoto Way School Junction Road project. Let's start with the biggest story right now, which is the drought situation. And it reads, the government has outlined an estimated 8 billion Ghana cedis, the equivalent of $500 million, plan on various interventions, mainly to support farmers affected by dry weather to ensure food security in the country. And the funds will be sourced from a combination of the contingency fund, budget realignment, and development partners. The Minister for Food and Agriculture, Dr. Brian Champon, at a press briefing yesterday, said estimates suggested that farmers in the affected areas had lost investment of approximately 3.5 billion Ghana cedis, risking a potential revenue loss of 10.4 billion Ghana cedis. And this is a very serious issue. When you look at the angles, there's a security angle where, the Ministry of Defense has deployed officials to the various posts at the borders to ensure that no one is exporting or smuggling maize, rice, and soybean out of the country because it's important. Simply put, nothing goes out, but more coming in, so that I think we found ourselves in a Joseph era. You remember when Joseph advised Pharaoh to, store up as much grain as possible because the season of hunger was near. That was when they had a season of plenty. But gentlemen, let me start with you, Enoch. What do you make of this drought situation and the figures that are coming out as support for the agric industry and how to salvage or mitigate the impact of this drought we're feeling?
Yeah. This is purely an act of God. And we know that as far as this drought spell is concerned, nobody envisaged that this will occasion our country. We thought that government has launched the planting and food and jobs phase 2, and the input suppliers and the aggregators were resolute in supplying the various inputs and various supplies to enable our farmers able to produce food that will be enough to feed our country and get more to even export outside to get forex to support our international reserves. But this is what has occasioned us as a country. And I believe that government as a forward-thinking government as a problem solver, as Baumia touted that to serve is to lead is to serve. government is serving the people of this country well by putting in measures to be able to ameliorate the circumstances. We cannot occasion rain to drop, but at least government has set aside an 8 billion, or is looking for 8 billion Ghana cedis, equivalent to our $500 million US, to be able to neutralize the impact of this canker on the people of Ghana, especially on the peasant farmers and our farmers who have suffered gravely as far as this drought are concerned. You know, some of them have gone for loans, some of them have gone for other inputs to be able to cultivate, and at the end of the day, pay off their liabilities to their principals, their debtors. But as it stands now, it's becoming a challenge because the rain-fed agriculture is not that supportive enough to our needs as a country. You remember, Sweetie, that the issues of climate change also comes in handy here, as far as the savanna belts and the transitional zones of our countries are concerned. You believe that, you know, in time past, we decided as a country to be able to aggressively conduct a reforestation program up north there, but it ended up as a fiasco. If some of these measures have been taken critically, I believe that at least it will be able to sustain our climate and our biodiversity as far as the sustenance.
What was the challenge there? You said if it was taken seriously. What do you think was the challenge there?
Oh, you remember the Asuntaba, Jida scandals and those kind of things that dropped that project in the erstwhile President Mohammed's era. That's the massive afforestation drive that were occasioned that we should be able to plant more trees to be able to sustain the biodiversity in the savanna and the transitional belts. Did not see the light of day. And I don't know, some people will have to be were punished or convicted as a result of this.
Some would argue that although we don't have control over the rains and drought, our actions as human beings impacted in the sense that the depletion of our forest reserves in no small way contributes to the lack of rains we experience.
Absolutely.
What's your response to that?
That's essentially what I am saying. I am an agric person.
Yes,
and
I'm talking about in the past 8 years. That we've been in the past 8 years, and I'm not making this political.
No,
we've seen a lot of depletion of forest reserves, right?
It is not a political statement.
Right.
The challenge here is certainly the southern sector is seeing some level of rains, but the northern sector, that is the major food basket of our country, is suffering because of the destruction of the flora and fauna in that region. Okay. And I believe that deliberate effort must be put in place aside these interim measures to be able to, as it were, put back the biodiversity and the climatic conditions properly. The afforestation program must be triggered alongside with the mitigation measures so that in the future, some of these things, even if they will occur, the impact will be minimal as far as that is concerned.
Thank you. Mr. La, what do you make of the situation?
Did you say the government has deployed the military to our borders?
Yes. Yesterday, the Minister of Defense was...
But have they done that to some of their ministers who are on record to be smuggling fertilizer and other farm implements out of this country? Have they done that? Has the government done that?
Name any minister.
At least there's an example. This is...
No, name any minister.
There's an example.
No, name any minister.
Enoch, don't do that.
Don't allow him. Let him name any minister.
Enoch, I said to you before we started that you don't interrupt him when he's sharing his thoughts. Please, let's have a conversation.
I'll come back to it.
Yes. Mr. La, go
on. There's a specific example of the Deputy Upper West Regional Minister. He's called Chinia. Chinia, there's a specific example of him. If he thinks that he should sue me. Enoch, you are a lawyer. I'm saying as a matter of fact that Chinia, Upper West Deputy Regional Minister, is on record to smuggle things out of this country. When farm implements are supposed to be used for the good of his people, he was sending them out of this country. Fertilizer for the use of farmers, he was transporting this out of this country, smuggling out of this country. That's a matter of fact. So it's very hypocritical if the government claims to be securing our borders when they are taking no tacit steps at making sure that their appointees, who are agents of smuggling, are not checked. That's a major indictment.
The current food crisis or looming food crisis.
I am coming on that. I just
want you
to see on the issue of food crisis, I would want to situate this in the context of what the government should have done. There's supposed to be a buffer stock company of this country whose responsibility is to shore up the food reserves of this country over the years. You do not wait until a crisis happens before you start taking steps. Look, for 7 years, you have had the opportunity to ensure that you keep on beefing up the buffers of this country. That whenever there's an act of God, as you call it, we would have enough. It's not when the act of God happens that we are now looking left, right, and center and seeing how we can face the disaster. That's what this government has done. Knee-jerk reactions. There's been no sustainable, well-efficient, well-thought-through plan at ensuring that there's food, such that whenever there's anything like an act of God, this government of Ghana, by its steps, would have been wise enough to have enough to take care of this country for like 3, 4, 5 years.
But I listened to Brian Champon yesterday, and he said that it's not entirely a situation that cannot be salvaged, and that we are even part of the ECOWAS food reserves, and we have some sizable amounts.
It's a very point
he quoted some metric tons. I just can't remember the figure.
It's a very point I'm making.
Yes.
You see, a country is supposed to be...
So we do have food. It's just...
You see, a country is supposed to be internally supreme and externally independent. And part of your external independence is ensuring that something as basic as food is something you can provide for your people. To the extent that this NPP government is banking its hopes on an ECOWAS program for food supply for the people of this country, it's most indicting. Most indicting because this government came on the back of a promise of 1 district, 1 factory, 1 village, 1 dam, planting for food and jobs. And all of these policies have been nothing but a failure. If planting for food and jobs, either phase 1 or phase 2, had been a success, we would have had a certain appreciation of the food reserves of this country. And that we will not have an agric minister who would now say, oh, the crisis is coming, let's now begin to close our borders and let's not export. That shows the inefficiency of this government. It shows the failure of the agric minister. It shows the overall failure of Alhaji Bawumia and Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in their management.
I'll give you a minute to respond, and then we get into other stories.
Then he mentions that Philemon La mentions on your show that ministers of state are smuggling fertilizers.
And we would have to fact check that.
Check it. I mean, it's there.
Once he mentions ministers of state, these are a small group of people.
Yes.
And he mentions a deputy Upper West regional minister. And in this government, we don't have a deputy Upper West regional. We don't have even a deputy regional
sanitation minister. Deputy sanitation minister.
Deputy
sanitation minister.
So he's mentioned deputy sanitation minister. And I believe that Honorable is around, and he can take him on as far as
deputy sanitation minister. As a matter of fact,
these are statements that is made on
for you, you're a lawyer.
Yes,
so,
I am.
I mean, but I'm just saying that these are his thoughts, and we cannot verify at this very moment.
I thought he was going to have any solid defense out of that when you.
No.
All right, so
I can defend an allegation that
at least a minister of your government, at least a minister, one of your ministers, and our record to have smuggled.
What I will say is that it is
smuggled out of this country.
And probably
inefficient government.
To prove your own allegation.
The point he was making is that if we are deploying security personnel to, secure our borders, we should be doing it. It should be an all-encapsulating approach, not just right now that we are facing a, food crisis, that we should be preventing the smuggling of these grains from the country, but the other things that also contribute to the agricultural sector, like fertilizers and the rest. Those should also be, we should pay attention to that as well.
Sweetie, what government is seeking to do is to be able to preserve the stock that we have as a country in order not to deplete the stock for us to have a higher food inflation values as we are currently existed in the past. Okay. And certainly, it's a step in the right direction. Government is only beefing up securities at the various entry points and exit points of our country to be able to ensure that we sustain ourselves as far as the stocks of food that we have in the country is concerned.
Okay.
And what he's saying about a smuggling of farm inputs and the likes, and he's mentioning names. And the name that he has mentioned, all that I can say on your show is that these are factually inaccurate. It is a deliberate ploy just to smear the hard-earned integrity of some members of government. And you remember that this is no news. In the year 2006-2007, the NDC started the Great Ashanti Project and started that President Kufuor was building an Ashanti as an empire, was trying to project to 2-4, and all blah, 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 blah. The stock of money that the NPP had in a certain bank in this country was even more than the stock of money resources at the Bank of Ghana. They have repeated this mantra up to this time, and now they even came with a Japadia, a book that has no author. And the likes, and you can have some academics speak to this unmeritorious documents and those things. So
if only you could read some of the comments coming in from our Facebook page. I'll give you the chance. So let's get into other stories. So now on the effects of galamsey, I'll come back to you.
I should respond to
I will come back to you. I will. Okay. So on the effects of galamsey, risk of cleft lip rises. Health experts have warned that Ghana risks having more children being born with cleft lip and palate, as heavy metals used in illegal mining have polluted many drinking water sources. And it's not just, this story telling us this now. We've been seeing reports of it all over the place. Our water bodies have turned brown, like Milo. The Chief Executive Officer of Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Opokuwari Ampoma, who sounded the warning, explained that substances from galamsey activities had contaminated many water bodies, pointing out that each substance could cause birth defects. And addressing new this was in an address, let me quote, cleft lips are caused by a number of factors, genetic factors and environmental factors. Those genetic factors that the baby inherits an abnormal gene, but the environmental factors contribute to children getting cleft lips, and these may be due to vitamin deficiency or some medications or toxins that pregnant mothers are exposed to. And we know that heavy metal contamination or some of the substances that are used in illegal mining activities can cause birth defects, he said. So this is the CEO of Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Opokuwari, saying that as we speak, children, the risk of newborn babies coming in with cleft lip is rising, and because of our galamsey activities. Before we get into this, I'll give you the chance to respond to Enoch, and then tell me how you intend to deal with galamsey head on. I mean, I know that you want to also talk about the approach of the NPP, but make your points short for me in about 2 minutes. Go.
This is in response to
yes,
a rebuttal
start
of
with that.
You see, Enoch should be careful in coming out to defend when the person has admitted already. The person I'm speaking about, the Honorable Chinya, in fact, the dishonorable Chinya, on record at your sister station.
And we do have to move on from this because I said to you that I want to. Yes.
Give me a minute to respond to that. Let me respond to that. The dishonorable Chinya is on record to have admitted at your sister station. He admitted his complicity in state capture. He admitted. So what are you defending, Enoch? The man himself has admitted, and you are here to defend him, to gendarme him. Come on, my brother. We deserve better than that.
So galamsey.
On the issue of galamsey, President Mahama and the NDC's policy on galamsey it's clear. We think that you see, most of the galamsey we do not blame the poor person from some part of this country who is doing galamsey. Blame the people in government, appointees of this NPP government who are mining wantonly without regard to the laws of this country in forest reserves. They are the ones who are causing most of the galamsey problems we find in this country. You see, it is very easy and simplistic for you to say that, oh, some group of young people in some community are mining illegally. As much as that is condemnable, I think the crack of the matter is the fact that NPP appointees are complicit in the menace of galamsey. President Mahama has promised in our manifesto that it will not be the case that appointees of his government are involved in any way, shape, or form, in any form of state capture. To the extent that illegal mining, as it is happening in this country in our forest reserves, President Mahama is assuring that we shall protect our forests, we shall take practical steps at ensuring that our water bodies are healthy and safe enough. Remember, President Mahama comes on the back of a promise of something in the fashion of Obamacare. We have the Mahama Care policy, a medical trust fund that is available for people that are suffering from various forms of diseases and sicknesses, including those that may suffer from all of these adverse effects of galamsey. Right. So we are committing that galamsey is a menace that needs to be fought, but we're also ensuring that the livelihood of people, young people in this country who have the resolve to work hard, who have the resolve to ensure that their industry put food on their table, will be supported to mine sustainably, to mine well, and ensure that they're able to put food on the table of their people. Okay. Let's remember that this government has presided over a regime where young people in this country who have no source of hope have resorted to mining. If the people of this country had any sustainable means of this country, they will not resort to crime and cutting down of their cocoa trees just to mine. It is the failure of this Akufo-Addo Bawumia government.
You know, is it really a lack of the will to fight galamsey, or are we just not approaching it the right way? How do you assess the situation?
If I am here, my colleague lawyer makes this spurious allegation against a deputy minister of state, as far as dishonesty, you know, stealing, one of the key elements of stealing is dishonesty, is concerned, that he has admitted on a sister network that he has been smuggling fertilizer out of the shores of this country, then I believe that if indeed he has evidence to it, fine. But if he doesn't have evidence and he's talking of admission, then clearly he doesn't understand what evidence is in accordance with the Evidence Act of 1975, Act 323. As far as Section 119, which dictates the pace of admission and confessions are concerned, he doesn't understand what evidence is. How can the deputy minister of state, who knows the ramifications, the consequences of an admission of a crime, admit that he has smuggled fertilizer out of the shores of this country, never say this anywhere, As far as public communication is concerned, Philemon La, you are so young and you don't have to do this to yourself. You don't have to enjoy yourself in this manner. Because I believe the deputy minister is watching and probably he will take action. I'm moving on. He's talking about Mahama Care. President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia have contributed massively into the construction or the investment in the health sector of this country robustly. You talk of the hospital project that have been started and completed under this regime. It's PLS. You talk of the massive boost in Agenda 1 district hospitals. Ongoing. Fantastic. You talk of the construction of district regional hospitals. The 500-bed Fian Kwanta Hospital in the central, in the western region, the eastern regional hospitals and the likes are all progressing steadily. And also will be coming to
Are you saying that we have enough hospitals to cater for the situation rather than solving it at the root?
He mentioned Mahama Care, and I'm telling you, if Mahama cares, Akufo-Addo Bawumia cares more than what you can put at a mere rhetoric.
Let's take to Galamsey.
As far as Galamsey is concerned, mining is concerned.
This is a serious issue.
It has come to stay. Is it?
Newborn babies who are innocent coming into this world for the first time.
I am a researcher in the mining sector, and I have conducted a lot of researches on heavy metal accumulation and its exposures and the ramifications of heavy metal accumulation to the human health and all those kind of things. I am still engaging in research in the mining sector myself. So as far as these are concerned, if somebody tells us, yes, the exposures of heavy metals is not only as a result of mining, we have other forms of exposures to heavy metal accumulation and contamination in our country that we must be resolute and look to curb or nip this menace in the bud. Sweetie, Dr. Bawumia is proposing a natural resource bank. The natural resource bank is going to be a boost as far as the extraction of our natural resources are concerned. What our people need is investment in that sector to be able to mine and mine sustainably. As it stands now, there is no way that any government can come and say that the government is stopping mining in Ghana, being it large-scale or small-scale mining. But what we can do is to be able to ensure that mining is conducted in an environmentally friendly and sustainable manner. And this is what we are lacking now. With all measures that have been put in place, we still have some, sorry to say, miscreants who are hell-bent on going into this activity or undertaking to be able to mine without recourse to the environmental pollutions and those kind of things. And this is what Dr. Bawumia is proposing, that we are going to invest. I'm coming. Let me land on this. Invest massively in this. As far as retooling and recapitalization of this sector is concerned, put them in community mining schemes to be able to regularize and regulate the activities and ensure that the impact of the activities to the environment is minimal. So that the end result is the capital that we get from it will be able to support our country, where the Bank of Ghana also gets.
You do have to land at some point. So what I'm saying to you now is that the president said he was putting his presidency on the line to fight Galamsey. The question I asked you before you started, do you think that there's a lack of political will to actually fight Galamsey? All the work we claim to have been doing, I mean, I'm not excusing your administration as well. All the work we claim to have been doing in the fight against Galamsey to this point, why haven't we seen anything to the point that young babies are standing the risk of, cleft slip?
In the Fourth Republic.
How do you, as an individual, as a citizen in this country, how do you feel about this?
In the Fourth Republic, if you want to see any president that has committed to the fight against Galamsey, as far as political will is concerned, then you cannot go without mentioning the name President Nana Akufo-Addo. In fact, if you really understand the sector and what goes into that sector, you really envisage that President Akufo-Addo has done his best as far as the fight against the illegal mining mandate is concerned. With securitization of this illegal mining sector, the retooling, the investment, the capital injection to aid our security agencies to be able to fight the mandate, and even bringing on board the mineral, the livelihood empowerment program for those who were taken out of the illegal mining space, as far as that was concerned, and a whole lot of things that were brought into that space.
Let me put two situations side by side for you and show you what you're doing right now, right? So it's just like we're talking about how there's hiking food prices, and the economy is hard, and people are struggling to make ends meet and have 3 square meals a day. And then the government is telling us that, but inflation, the numbers are coming down, but it's not actually reflecting in our pockets, right? On Galamsey, I'm saying to you that the president said emphatically that he was putting his presidency on the line. But we've seen many rivers turn brown. Have you seen any? And you cannot say, on the back of all the reports and all the cries from the people, in so many parts of this country. Recently, there was a report about people starting to mine, in the middle of the road, really. You cannot say that in the Fourth Republic, if you want to talk about a president who's really fought Galamsey, in fact, it has even affected the quality of cocoa that we produce in this country. You cannot say, and I cannot let you say this without actually backing it with some facts. How are you saying this, that the President Akufo-Addo is the one president in the Fourth Republic who's fought Galamsey in this Fourth Republic? I'm struggling to get to you.
So you are struggling to get me because you lack understanding in the mining sector.
I'll let that pass.
Yes. No, you shouldn't let it pass. You should bring it on. Because you mentioned rightly that people are mining in the middle of the road. Which road are they mining in?
Have you not heard of cocoa farmers giving up their lands?
No, you said they are mining. No, you said they are mining in the middle of the road. Sweetie, that's what you said on this platform.
Please help me get that report that was brought by Erasmus Asaridonko.
Middle of the road.
That story, please send.
Yes.
He's asking me for it, and I want to show him that. Please,
recently, there was a news that broke up as far as the Accra-Kumasi highway was concerned. And the news was that people are mining close to the highway. And when you are driving along the highway, you can see them work. And I think that operation has been brought to a halt. We believe that, yes, government is doing its best. Which part of this country is without a district police headquarters, a district police command? Which part of this country is without a journalist or a media station or outlet or with that regard?
Okay.
Certainly, as far as this menace is concerned, it is not a one-man show. But President Akufo-Addo put his presidency on the line and suffered the consequences of it in the 2020 general elections. Look at the number of seats. A traditional seat like Upper Denchira West constituency, the New Patriotic Party lost that because of the fight against Galamsey.
And
you say that the government has not.
And so
I am also a discerning person. If you tell me your audience are discerning, I am also an audience, and I'm also a discerning person.
I'm just
but if you use that word, that your audience are discerning, it means that I'm spewing, nonsense or foolishness. No, that's what you are trying to tell me.
Calm down.
No, that's what you are trying to tell me.
What I'm saying is
that as a guest.
The people
no, you are trying to tell me that as a guest, I am spewing at foolishness or nonsense.
Hold on.
No, it is not a fair comment. It is not a fair comment. It is an implied comment that you pass on to me. It is not a fair comment at all.
So I did not say anything wrong.
You sought my opinion.
I am just saying that our audience, are discerning enough that you can understand and you can assess for yourself who is saying, who is speaking with fact and how the real situation affects you on the ground. Because the people in the communities that this Galamsey activity is affecting cannot hear you say this right now and say that because I'm saying they're discerning, I'm insulting you. I would never insult you, Enoch.
You can do whatever you want.
Mr. La, let's get into your thoughts.
The fact of the matter is that President Akufo-Addo has showed great political will as far as the fight against Galamsey is concerned. But if we feel that there is still more to be done, it cannot be said that he has not committed to the fight against Galamsey. He has not performed as far as the fight against illegal mining.
Point noted. Mr. La.
Seeing this exchange that has just gone on, I think I would dispense. I was going to respond when he brought about the issues of evidence. He's my junior at the bar. He knows that. He's my junior at the bar. So to sit here and want to supposedly teach me the law is something you have to be careful about. But I'll let that pass. I'll let that pass because when the issue of Galamsey...
Even judges get it wrong. Even judges get it wrong. So don't bring that in. You were wrong on what you said. He admitted to the commission of a crime. And what step have you taken?
Right.
No, what step have you taken?
Mr. La.
And where lies juniority and seniority in this matter? Judges get it wrong. Even the Supreme Court.
You cannot take over the show like that.
No, I'm not taking it. But
so your time is up. Please mute Enoch for me. Mr. La, we'll hear you now.
When the issue of mining comes up, all other issues must drop. Your egos must drop. Because the lives of those children that are being born is most important. I know people that have lived in mining communities, and I see the devastating effect that Galamsey is having on them. On the other hand, I know people in this MPP government who have overnight become millionaires because of their complicit involvement in illegal mining. I know that. I remember Nana Asantehene, the very wise king. A lot of government officials went to visit him at Misha. And he said some very wise words. He said that in this very room, referring to the audience that had assembled before him, 90% of the problem of illegal mining are assembled here. Nana Asantehene said that when ministers, including the lands minister, the president, top government officials, party officials gathered before Nana Asantehene at Misha, Nana Asantehene said that. Are you saying that Nana Asantehene lied? He said that 90% of them, the problem of Galamsey, had gathered in his palace. So the fact of the matter is that if this government meant well, let me not go into that proclamation by Nana Addo that he was putting his presidency on the line. Nana Addo is one politician. He and Bawumia are politicians who have said A and they mean Z, who have promised and have not been able to fulfill. Of course, he said that, but unfortunately, he has failed to live by that promise. Because when you go across the length and breadth of this country, illegal mining is on edge. Our water quality has reduced. The water we drink in this country, look, over the next few years, you begin to see the effect of this on the lives of people. Because previously, where the Ghana Water Company was sourcing water from all of these rivers and then cleaning, but there's a heavy pollution of metals. That is the problem that the few people that have become rich are inflicting on the larger population of this country. Even fish that we consume.
But Mr. La, you are also just reiterating the problems. During Mohammed's time, there was galamsey.
There was galamsey.
What are you doing differently this time?
What I want you to understand is that you cannot compare oranges and stones. President Mohammed is miles ahead of this MPP government and Alhaji Bawumia. Under President Mohammed's government, admittedly, there was some degree of illegal mining. But the water was not brown as we have today, was it? Cocoa production had not declined. For the history, in the first time in the history of this country, our production of cocoa has declined because people are now cutting down cocoa trees to mine illegally. The quality, the output of the tonnage of cocoa that we produce in this country has reduced drastically. Admittedly, cocoa board is no more as profitable as it used to be. And these are the indicators you can use to ascertain the devastating effect of illegal small-scale mining on the economy of this country. Is it not on record that somebody, if I mention him, Chairman Wuntumi was involved in Akonta mining? Is it not a matter of fact? It's not a matter of fact that Akonta mining was fingered for mining in a forest reserve. And
I'm
before,
have to say that don't make any more allegations.
It's not an allegation, it's a matter of fact.
It's not an allegation.
saying
to you that we've had enough and we need to get into the stories.
As a matter of fact, on the complicity of Akonta mining in illegal small-scale mining in a forest reserve, even before the statutory bodies could conclude their investigation, the president, the same president who said he was putting his presidency on the line to ensure that galamsey is a thing of the past, came out and cleared Akonta mining of any wrongdoing. Is it the president's job to do that? Is this how someone who has promised to ensure that galamsey is a thing of the past should speak? But that is the character of Akufo-Addo.
Right.
It doesn't mean the words he says. So I think that President Mohammed's commitment to the fight against illegal small-scale mining is solid, robust. We believe that small-scale mining groups will be allowed and given the permission to mine responsibly. We're also looking at reclamation.
Do you remember that, Mr. La, do you remember that, during President Mohammed's time, there was some tension between the Chinese government and us because of the influx of Chinese in the galamsey sector? Do you remember that? Do you remember that? At that time, because we had lots of Chinese people here.
If there was any tension between the Ghana government and the Chinese government, it was because of President Mohammed's solid position on the fact that this country shall not be used as an instrument for the enrichment of Chinese nationals at the expense of the people of this country. It was because President Mohammed believed that you cannot leave your country and come and pollute the water bodies of this country and mine abysmally. That was the commitment of President Mohammed. But what do we see today? We see Aisha Wang. We see the case of Aisha Wang in this MPP government. Aisha Wang was allowed to leave this country in the name of a diplomatic exchange, despite the massive...
You have to land on that point.
Despite the massive devastation of our environment.
Let's get into your
That was Aisha Wang for you.
You have the Ghanaian Times.
So where is Aisha Wang?
First,
where is Aisha Wang now? Where is Aisha Wang now? She has been incarcerated.
Let's get, yeah.
So if you talk of, you see Aisha Wang in this menace now, you don't really understand what diplomatic exchange is concerned. So just, I will not even take you on because you lack understanding of that sector. International relations.
Come on, let's get
You need to take a course in that. Ghanaian Times.
See, civil language. But you should hold him to that.
Ghanaian Times.
You don't sit there and allow him pass comments like this and say, keep quiet.
Ghanaian Times.
Why do you
I'm
do
not
that?
saying keep quiet.
Yes, I mean, but you don't allow him to spew out words like this.
He said he didn't actually insult. He said you lack understanding. And I mean,
Very
that's
well.
his opinion of you. It's
Very
not,
well.
if it's not the fact
and I hope
for
the
you,
viewers are listening to the arrogance.
Is it arrogance?
Gentlemen, come on.
It is arrogance.
So you see, you are showing out for our viewers.
No,
but really,
arrogance.
we should be having... Let's get into the papers.
Having a decent conversation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Come on.
Not flippant comments like this.
So what you
So
lack
the front
understand-
page of the
you lack
Ghanaian Times.
understanding
Should I
of that
take
subject matter.
that? Okay.
So the Ghanaian Times. Government begins Temamoto reconstruction. Project to cost $350 million. Expected to be completed in 36 months. So,
there are some other stories there. Just give us a sense of what's
okay.
on the paper first.
Akosombo Dam spillage. 200 million Ghana cedis released for resettlement projects. Looming food crisis. grains export banned due to prolonged dry spell in 8 regions.
You touched on that story.
Yana hails government for dedication towards improving road infrastructure in northern region.
Okay, we can only do one of those stories.
Yana hails government for dedication towards improving road infrastructure in northern region.
Okay.
So government begins Temamoto Way reconstruction. And yesterday, the government cut sword for the reconstruction of the 10-lane Temamoto Way, the 19-kilometer Temamoto Way express highway. And it's an express highway, 10-lane express highway. And the project is set to be completed in 36 months. I believe that anyone who uses the Temamoto Way has seen works already started as far as the size of the existing road bed is concerned. That they've started clearing both sides and the contractors are outside.
This is the first time, though, that they've cut sword for some construction work on the motorway?
Well, I'm not aware. We've seen the motorway expansion project. We've seen the motorway interchange project, the phase 1, phase 2. The phase 2 is almost getting completed.
But why now? Because I remember there was some sword cutting on this same Tema motorway reconstruction a couple of years back. Why now? Why now?
I'm taken aback. I don't remember what you are saying, and you can let your viewers know.
Sure.
But what matters most is that government has shown dexterity as far as the state of the Tema motorway is concerned. And this is a major highway in our country. It doesn't only serve Ghana, it serves the ECOWAS sub-region as well. Our neighbors in Togo,
in 36
Benin,
months, you said?
Nigeria, and the likes.
Okay.
The government is seeking to harness the potential in the public-private partnership to be able to execute this road infrastructure for the benefit of our country.
Okay.
And not all the burden are coming onto the government of Ghana finances.
Okay.
I believe that the private sector is going to take a chunk of it, and it's a PPP arrangement that government is using to execute this project.
Great.
This
so we are wrapping up.
It's going to be part of the over 12,000 kilometers of road infrastructure the government has constructed.
Right.
As far as the reign of...
Take us through your paper briefly, and then one story, and then we have to go. We really have to go.
Something called Cash for Go.
What paper is that?
It's called the New Republic.
Okay.
It says Cash for Go scandal rocks the Ghana Tourism Development Corporation. The CEO blews 500,000 cedis on girlfriend with a cook deal. We have always spoken about the massive corruption that has characterized this MPP government. And this is another example that when you look left and look right, there's nothing but stinking, pungent, ammonia-like corruption that is characterized this Bawumia, Alhaji Akufo-Addo government. They are nothing but an association of family and friends and cronies of this MPP government who are ripping this country dry of the resources. Nothing. How can you give your girlfriend 500,000 Ghana cedis? 500,000 Ghana cedis. CEO, and the president is quiet about that. We have not heard the president talk about it. We have not heard Alhaji Bawumia talk about it. You see, there's a thing about saying that nobody asked Alhaji Bawumia a question about corruption. I am asking Alhaji Bawumia right now, what are you doing about this?
All right, you have to land on that note for me. Thank you.
Alhaji Bawumia, will you fire this CEO?
You heard the lawyer Philemon La, a member of the NDC communications team. I was also joined by lawyer Enoch Afuakwa, a member of the NPP communications team. And both gentlemen joined me to review the newspapers and the stories making waves. My name is Sweetie Abochi, but ushering in AM Sports now with Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. Stay tuned.
3 days ago.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to AM Sports here with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. The National Sports Authority insists the Bawayara Sports Stadium will be ready to host the African Cup of Nations qualifier between Ghana and Angola next week, Thursday. The facility, which became more of a mushroom pitch following a church service that was organized at the Bawayara Sports Stadium about a month ago, has now been brought to this state by the National Sports Authority. Images that came to Joy Sports' attention just a couple of minutes ago indicate that this is the current state of the Bawayara Sports Stadium. Meanwhile, our sister station in Kumasi, in Shire and Love FM are all reporting that CAF is demanding an update on this pitch so that they will approve it to be able to host the African Cup of Nations qualifier between Ghana and Angola. That match will be happening next week, Thursday, at 4 p.m. at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium. It's unclear if CAF officials will approve the facility, but what is definite from Joy Sports' angle is the fact that this is the current state of the facility as images sent to us early this morning. A member of the NDC manifesto team on youth and sports, Adam Agbana, has questioned Ghana's maintenance culture when it comes to stadia. According to him, in other jurisdictions, there's a deliberate plan towards maintaining their facilities. But in Ghana, most of our facilities have been left to rot due to a poor maintenance culture. You are speaking to my colleague, Haruna Mubarak.
Even more challenging for us in the sector of sports is the fact that when you look at the NSA, because they are heavily under-resourced, they have resorted to looking for some creative ways of raising funds. And that is why they would prefer charging some artists who come and host a musical concert at the stadium, charging some churches to come and host prayer meetings and conventions and what have you at the stadium or at the stadia. Why? Because they are looking for alternative sources of income. It's a conversation we need to have. Because when you go to other countries, a stadium is so sacred that maintenance is given 100% attention. But what do we have today in Ghana? Poor maintenance of the facilities. Look at stadium that we built in Cape Coast, the Cape Coast Stadium, not too long ago. It's not even up to 20 years, not even up to 10 years. And what do you see? Terrible. Look at Baba Yara Sports Stadium. Look at Accra Sports Stadium. Look at the whole sports stadium in the Volta region. It's not even befitting to be used for Division 1 matches. They are only managing. So we need to renovate. We need to refurbish all these stadia in the country. And so that is why we are of the belief that we'll renovate. And after renovation, government will put in place proper systems of maintenance.
Can we know the
It is the only way to maintain. Yeah, we'll put in place proper systems of maintenance. There must be checks and balances on how our stadia are given out for commercial use. There are checks and balances. All these are our state institutions. When you go to University of Ghana, for example, before anybody is able to use facilities of the institution, there are processes that you go through. I have been in event organization for a while. There are some facilities after you use or before you use, you are made to sign an agreement. If any property or any damage is caused, you are made to pay. And repairs are done immediately. So we will renovate the stadium. We will renovate all the stadia across the country and ensure that after renovation, we institute proper maintenance culture so that we can take good care of them. But again, we need a national conversation on our maintenance culture as a country.
Maintenance culture. That is Adam Agbana speaking to my colleague, Mubarak Haruna. Let's hear from the Vice President and flag bearer of the MPP, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. He's also been speaking about maintenance of sporting facilities. According to him, one of the major challenges Ghana has at the moment is our maintenance culture.
Looking at the national amputee team who are owed some allowances. So I'll talk to the sports minister here to get the facts on the issue, and if that is the case, I will try to expedite their payment. So I'll when I leave here, I'm going to raise that issue. There is also the issue of 6 new stadia that and only one of the existing 5 is being maintained. I think that is a very good question. One of the problems we have is the lack of maintenance of our pitches. I met with the Black Stars in Kumasi before their last game there, and when we met, the coach and the players were very clear that what they really needed, and this is why I've put it in our manifesto, was an international standard pitch. You know, that the pitches that we have are difficult to play on, and we needed international standard pitches. So, in fact, in the manifesto, we need to do it. And I believe that we need professional management in terms of the maintenance of these pitches. And we need to train people and also bring in the people with the knowledge. And so we are going to do that, because we just build the pitches and there is very little maintenance.
The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bavin, has cut a sword for the construction of an AstroTurf at the SD Dumbo University. The sword was cut on Monday as they get ready to put up a facility for the students of the school. The facility will be constructed by Wembley Sports Construction. That has already completed the construction of McCoy Sports Stadium, which was built by the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bavin. With the sword cutting completed, it means that the Speaker of Parliament will be constructing the second AstroTurf for the people of the Upper West. This is currently happening in Jirapa. There's also going to be the commissioning of the McCoy Sports Stadium, which was built by the Speaker of Parliament later this week. Now we move on and bring you other stories, and we are going to be talking about how Team Ghana has been getting ready to participate in the, I'm turning to the Ghana Football Association rather. They have organized their Congress. It started on Monday, and it is also happening later today. The Ghana Football Association, they've also been able to secure an ambulance for the Ghana Soccer Center of Excellence, as well as they've decided to build a 40-bedroom accommodation using the FIFA World Cup money that they got. You recall that Ghana got about $9 million from FIFA for participating in the FIFA World Cup 2022, but they had declared about $7.9 million to the government of Ghana and the members of the football family. Part of that money was given to the Ghana Football Association. That is a total of $2.5 million was given to the Ghana Football Association to build what the government of Ghana described as a FIFA legacy project at the Ghana Soccer Center of Excellence. And the president of the Ghana Football Association, Keto Kreku, on Monday cut a sword for the construction of that facility. And also, they will be building a gym as well as a swimming pool at the Ghana Soccer Center of Excellence. And that is how we'll be wrapping AM Sports here with me, Muftau Nabila Abla. We appreciate your company.
You're still watching the AM show on Joy News. And now we're gearing up for the third clinic of the EcoBank Joy News Habitats Fair. Get a house, make it a home. That's the theme. And as we discuss some issues, to bring you an in-depth understanding of what really goes into getting a house and making it a home, this morning we want to consider what should be important to you when acquiring a land and related matters. Private legal practitioner, Mr. John A. Akaze Esquire, is in the studio with me. Hi, John.
Hi, sweetie.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
A little bear just whispered to me that you're a Chelsea fan. Yes. Your secret is out of the bag. Oh. So with the transfer window, nearing a close now, what are the highlights for you? Who are you happy about?
I'm happy about our star boy, of course.
Okay.
Opalma. The star boy of the EPO.
Okay.
So look out for him.
So all good. We should look out for him.
Yes.
Right. So we want to have a conversation about land acquisition, getting a home, you know, advantages and disadvantages when it comes to either buying a house or building one. But the most important bit in all of this is the land acquisition. And I think you were just telling me that, in fact, land disputes make up majority of our cases in the courts. And that's important. And I think it's because people don't understand what really goes into it. And so they land themselves in trouble. So just to start the conversation, could you explain the different types of land ownership in Ghana and how they affect, you know, land itself acquisition?
Thank you, Siti. And good morning to your viewers.
Yeah.
Land acquisition in Ghana. It's in the very nature of the land itself. This is where the problem starts from.
Yeah.
Land is fixed. You cannot expand it, even though in other jurisdictions or in other places, they are now claiming the ocean as part of them.
Yeah.
But in Ghana, we haven't gotten to that level yet.
We came to meet it, we will leave it
So
here.
our land is fixed. So because of that, we do not have lands which are there for future generations if you do not take care of the ones that are still available.
What did you say about lands belonging to us? You said land belongs to the living,
Yes. So
the dead?
in dealing, in dealing with land, you have to always take into consideration that the land that you are dealing with belongs to the living, the dead, and the unborn generation.
That's very important to consider.
Yes. So land, but that's what people tend to forget. So they deal with land as if it is for we who are living today. But that is not the case. If that were the case, then the past generations, that's the dead, would have exhausted what we have today. So they back to your point.
Yeah, about the different types.
The different
I mean, we
types.
keep hearing stool land, we hear family land, we hear government land. What are these various types and how does acquisition actually affect
so
them?
the various lands that we have land is owned by the stools, the various stools, or skin.
Yeah.
That's in the northern part of Ghana.
Part.
We also have family lands too as well, and we have public lands.
Okay.
Yes. So the various land ownership has their distinct features that a would-be buyer, or anyone who is trying to buy land, you would be interested in knowing the land that I'm buying it from a stool, am I buying it from a family, or am I acquiring it from the state? That's public lands.
Right.
So all these various forms of land ownership have their features, which is very important when you want to acquire land.
When you say stool land or a would-be buyer is buying a land from a stool or a skin, what does it mean? It means that there's a group, does it mean there's a group of people, like a chieftaincy group, and they have a head, and the land belongs to the entire chieftaincy or the group or the clan? Explain that to us.
Yes, when it comes to stool lands, yes, the land belongs to the people, but the occupant of the stool or the skin is holding the land in trust for the people. So when the stool wants to sell or you want to acquire land from a stool, you need to know the person claiming to be the occupant of the stool. Is he really the occupant of the stool? Because we have had instances of people who parade themselves as chiefs or caretakers or regents. You know, they are not. Because now all we see is that people go and acquire all these things that people wear as chiefs.
Right.
So
the regalia.
The regalia,
Yeah.
the regalia, yes. So they put on the regalia, parade themselves as the chiefs.
Meanwhile, they're not actually chiefs.
Yeah, they're not
and
actually
they'll sell
chiefs.
lands to you
Yes,
and
they
then
sell
land
lands
in
to you.
trouble.
Yes, because most often you are not from there. So when you see the person parading himself and he has some backup support. Maybe he's working with an Interage, and they hail him as the chief. You may think that he's the chief, but we have various ways of becoming a chief. You must even come from the appropriate family and the lineage. So you cannot all of a sudden just hold yourself as a chief.
So, I mean, your expertise is in land cases or land law, right?
Among others, yes.
Among others, yes.
Among
so
others, yes.
How do you avoid these pitfalls? For example, if I want to buy a land from here in Accra,
yes,
what do I do? If that land falls in the category of stool land, what do I do? Take us through the processes.
So, first of all, speak to a lawyer. But
do people do that? Do they actually speak to lawyers?
Most often not. Most often we don't. And that is why we have this, our courts inundated with so many land cases, because of the fact that people think that maybe legal services are expensive. However, it is better to pay a lawyer maybe a fee to go through the processes for you from the outset, so that you don't get into deeper troubles before you now start calling a lawyer. Because when you acquire the land and you have parted with huge sums of money, I don't think you let go. So it will be very important that you involve a lawyer in all these things.
That's
However,
first on your list.
Yes,
Get a lawyer.
Get a lawyer.
Okay.
However, people usually don't get lawyers. So I will take them through. If you do not want to take a lawyer and you want to do it by yourself, even though that has its, as I just said, its effects or its negative effects on it. You may want to know, as we were saying, the owner of that land. The land that I'm about to buy, who owns it? So that will determine how you approach the buying process. So if it is a stool land, as I said earlier, you
need a chief.
You need a chief with the consent and concurrence of the principal elders of the stool. So the
principal elders?
Yes.
Do we have people who are not principal elders?
Oh, of course. There are elders who are subjects of the stool, but they are not principal.
And so this affects land acquisition how?
It does, because you in the stool, they have the various clan heads.
Yes.
So if you want to acquire land, and this applies to the various customs, it doesn't apply universally. So if it is an account stool, there are principal members or elders who are supposed to, elders who are supposed to sign the document or execute the document together with the chief to make it a valid sale. So if you were to buy the land from only the occupant of the stool, be it the chief or the caretaker or a regent, it is of no effect. You have acquired nothing.
That's void.
Yes, it's void. And one day you'll be there and someone comes and says that the person that you acquired the land from didn't have the right to sell this land, or he ought not to have sold it to you on his own accord.
You're saying that, so even if a chief decides to sell a piece of land to me as an individual, on the blind side of these principal elders or members of the family, which is maybe the clan heads of the various sectors of the family, every family has smaller groupings within. These smaller groupings, if they find out eventually that I've bought that piece of land, no matter I have the indenture and all that, they can actually take me to court.
Yes.
Because that sale is void.
Yes, that sale is void, because if you buy nothing, you acquire nothing. So the law is clear. And as we say in the local parlance, ignorance of the law is not an excuse. So the law is clear that before buying the land, the chief alone cannot. And as I said earlier, the stool land does not belong to the chief personally. He's holding it in trust for the people. So something that you are holding in trust, if we do not put checks and balances by involving other members of the stool to check so that you can sell land to people. Maybe the chief alone will just be selling the lands to whoever he wants to. And by the time the people know, all their lands are gone. So this is the reason why in buying land, you have to be careful that the writing has been done, that just not only the chief that has signed the document for you, and even that the people that he says are principal members are in effect really principal members of him, because he could do so with his immediate family.
We actually see that happening a lot.
Yeah, we do.
Chiefs on their own accord just go out and sell land.
Or with their sons. Yes.
Or with their sons.
Yes, with their son. And your son is not a principal member of the stool. So you have to do so with the consent and concurrence of the principal.
And the law, the new land law caters for this?
Yeah, yes, this is already something that is in existence. Yes, but the Land Act has, it comes to strengthen, and harmonize all the laws concerning land. Yes, so these are things that we already...
Okay, so first, get a lawyer.
Yes, get a lawyer.
Second, confirm or verify or fact check that whoever is selling the land to you has the consent of the principal elders of the family, either the chief...
Yes, that is if it is stool land.
If it's stool land.
Yes, if it is family, the same way, family, head of family.
Oh, yes. So chief and principal elders only for the stool land?
Yes, for the stool land.
And then we have family land.
Yes, so family land. Yes, family land we have, so you need the head of family. And with this, he also needs the consent and concurrence of the principal members of that family too as well.
Okay.
So he cannot do it alone.
So no one person can just get up and sell a piece of land on their own?
No, Yes, and...
Let me create this scene. Let's say my husband and I have a piece of land we want to sell to you, John.
Yes.
What would you be looking out for?
Yes. So we are now moving to individuals.
Okay. Then I jump the gun.
Yes.
You finish from family land, and then we get to individuals.
Yes. So family land. So with family.
I was thinking that a family unit, as in a nuclear family, falls in that category, but it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
When we say family, it means a larger family. Yes. So with a larger family, we have the various forms of appointments of heads of family. So depending on the ethnic group, depending on the culture or the custom of the place, we have the various forms of, or various ways of appointing head of family. So if a person has been validly appointed as a head of family, then he, together with some principal members of the family, can validly sell land to you. So you need to know that the person who says, I'm selling a land for you, a land at Amasaman for you, is he the head of family, or he just an old man? Being an old man is not the same as head of family. Head of family, as I said, it has its way depending on the custom. The various customs determines how head of families are appointed.
Yeah, so I mean it's different for the Akans, it's different from Asavers, it's different from the Gans.
Yes, it's different from one group to another. So if the head of family has been validly appointed and he sells the land to you with the consent and concurrence of some principal members of the family, it's valid. However, the difference here is that head of family alone can't sell the land to you, but it's voidable. When we say it's voidable, it means that it can be set aside at some point.
Or it can be contended.
Yes, but with the stool land, it's void ab initio. It never happened.
Okay.
It never happened. You never acquired anything. But with the head of the family land, if he sells the land to you, and it later on came to light that he did it alone without the consent of the principal members, it is for the principal members to come and say whether they ratify what he has done, or they support, or they would go with this
that
decision that he has taken, or they do not go by it.
If they don't go by it, what happens?
If they don't go by it, it means that it will eventually become void. Yes, because they are the principal members, and they said no, because of due to reason A, B, C, D, we do not think that this land should be sold to this person. Then the next category is the individual, individual private lands. So if you, as you gave me the instance that you have land and you wanted to sell, you who is buying need to know. You have seen the person wearing a ring, or he's a married man or a married woman. It's incumbent on you to ask the person whether you have the consent of your spouse to dispose of this land. That is.
What if the land is in my name?
It doesn't matter. Really? What matters, yes, what matters is that it was acquired during the pendency of the marriage. So if you got married in 2020, you acquired the land in 2021, it is presumed that both of you have interest in that land. So if you want to sell the land to another person, you need the written. And the Land Act does not just say consent, but written consent of your spouse.
Written consent?
Yes, written consent.
Okay.
And so oral.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work because for the reasons being that one day it comes up that, or maybe litigation. If there's litigation, then you have to go to court. You pull up the consent. I got the consent. Someone says that I did not consent to my husband selling the land to you. Then you pull up and say, I have your signature here. This is your signature. You signed to it and you consented to the selling of this land to me. However, if you do not get that consent and you buy the land, one day the woman comes up and says that this land was acquired by both of us during the pendency of the marriage. So when my husband was selling to you or my wife was selling to you, he or she ought to have gotten my consent, which he didn't. So I'm saying that I'm not going through with this sale.
In all the categories you've given us, it's very important that you ascertain the ownership of that land you wish to buy.
Very critical.
So even if it's a stool land, the chief or the occupant of that stool, together with the principal elders of that family. Even if it's that stool, if it's a family land you wish to buy, then the family head, confirmed family head, based on the customs or the ethnic ways, differences that we appoint family heads, together with the principal members of that family. If it's an individual person, the land is in your name. And if the person is married, you need the consent of their spouse before you can acquire the land. Great. So what happens after ascertaining the ownership of the land you wish to buy?
Yes, so the next stage is that you would like to know what interest does the person or the entity have in that land.
Why is that important?
When we say interest, it means due to this conversation, I'll limit it to leasehold. So we have various interests in land. So we have those who had the land by discovery, those who maybe they were the earliest people to settle on that land and all that. However, now there are no vacant lands for people to go and settle on or not. So people are able to sell either a freehold to you or a leasehold. But generally, most of the land acquisitions that we see today, it's a leasehold. So the leasehold is what we usually get the 99 years. So if you are buying from, let's say, a stool, you will be getting the leasehold.
The leasehold, which gives you the land for 99 years.
99 years. Depending on who you are.
Oh.
Yes. That is for Ghanaians. If you're a non-Ghanaian, you cannot get more than 50 years.
Oh, so if you're a citizen,
yes,
then you get the leasehold, which gives you the land for 99 years. Yes. But if you're a non-citizen, you get only up to 50 years.
Up to 50 years, which is at every time. That means that you get 50 years. Maybe if the 50 years is gone, it's elapsed, then you need another 50 years. Okay? But you cannot get above 50 years.
No, clarify. After
Yes.
the 50 years, what do you do?
Yes, so after the 50 years, you have to approach your grantors again, the people who sold the land to you, if all of you are alive. So you have to go and speak to them again for a renegotiated price of the land. You have to buy it again.
You have to buy it again?
Yes, of course, you have to buy it again because the lease has expired.
Right.
Yes, the lease has expired. However, if...
Which means you can't will that land to your descendants.
You can. However, when the time is due, it means that it doesn't go to them. It can't pass on to them. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, back to the...
what happens after ascertaining the ownership?
Yes. So, you have to get the interest, the interest of the person. So, if the person has 99 years, if the person is the original owner, let's say chief or family, you get the 99 years. If the person is a member of the family and also has the right to sell to you, you get the leasehold of 99 years. However, so as you were giving the instance of you and your husband selling land to maybe me. So you bought it in 2000. You got 99 years. And you are selling it in 2010. You don't have 99 years anymore. That's one of the things that people fail to know. That when someone buys land for 99 years and he's selling to you, he's not selling to you 99 years because he doesn't have it. So you can only buy the residue, what we call the residue. And that is, the person may decide to sell all of it to you. So if he stayed on the land for 10 years and he's selling the rest to you, he will sell 80 years to you. That is what we call an assignment.
Okay.
Yes. So you need to know what is the interest I'm getting from this land. Is it an assignment? Am I getting a lease? Am I getting a sublease? So if the person also has 99 years, he may decide that instead of giving you all the 99 years, I may want to give you 40 years so that the 55 years or 59 years
comes back to you.
Yeah, it comes back to me.
Okay.
So that after 40 years, the land goes back to him. That is a sublease. If you give part of what you have, the years you have, part of the years you have, you give it out to somebody, it's a sublease. But however, if you give the entire duration of what is left on your lease is an assignment.
And this all reflects in the land title and documentation processes.
Yes.
Right? So let's talk about that.
Yes.
What are the procedures to register a land and get an indenture? Is that what it's called?
Yes, the indenture.
Yeah.
Usually. So,
walk us through the processes of documenting a land after you've ascertained the ownership, checked on the interest, confirmed whether it's a leasehold for 50 years or 99 years. What next?
So what next for you to do is the documentation.
Yes.
Yes. And I think I jumped something.
Okay.
We need to know that after ascertainment of all these things, there's something we call due diligence. And these processes are all part of the due diligence. But there are some other things that you have to do. For example, you could make inquiries around the land, go and speak to neighbors. Yes, you can be holding an indenture, holding everything, but the land that you have bought, you go and speak to the neighbors.
What are you looking for? What kind of information are you
Yes,
sourcing
you want to be asking, do you know who owns this land? Then they say, the person who owns this land lives in Germany. So it has to click on you that. Then the person I bought from may just be a caretaker and not the real owner. Because there are various forms. You may be exercising some ownership of land, but you are not really the owner. Maybe the person bought the land and he's living abroad and he puts you in charge. So you go on the land every day So people may think that you are the owner of the land, but you are not. So you have to speak to neighbors to confirm that he's the true owner. However, this is because we are talking about we doing it on our own. But however, if you were to engage a lawyer, it would have been different.
Okay.
The lawyer would have conducted due diligence searches and all those things to ascertain if the land is a registered land. So that now comes to how, after getting your indenture or the abstract of title, what you should do next. So what you should do next is if you wish to register your land, or that is if the land you acquired is in a registrable area. It's not every area in Ghana that has lands that can be registered. So most of the Greater Accra, Greater Kumasi, yes, these are places that you can register your land. Yes, and it's
okay, so what are some of the common mistakes that people make in terms of documentation? In terms of documenting their lands, what are some of the common mistakes that people make?
Yeah, some of the mistakes will be that you did not conduct the due diligence searches at the lands. So apart from just having the indenture, and usually the indenture comes with a site plan. But have you gone further to conduct a search at the lands to know whether that land is actually the land that you have bought? Because there are times that they describe a land. Usually when you buy land, there's a schedule which describes where the land is located and all that. And the site plan that is attached talks about the land that is lying somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, we have encountered that in court. But the land that you actually thought you had bought is not the land which is the site plan that is attached to your land. So if you had conducted searches or you had sent your own private surveyor onto the land, sometimes that is very critical, that you, apart from the site plan they have given you, you also go onto the land with your surveyor, especially if the site plan they have given you is the old type. Now, with the new type of plans that we have the cadastral. So that is what is acceptable by Lands Commission. So if you want to register your land and you don't have the cadastral, that is the starting point. You have to have the cadastral. Okay. So if it is the old site plan without the barcode and all that, you won't be able to register it. So you have to send a surveyor onto the land to take the coordinates, prepare a cadastral plan for you with the barcode. Then you go on to the other steps of registration.
But it's very important, absolutely important, that you register your land, is it not?
Oh yes, it shows that you have an unimpeached interest or title to the land. That is because when in a registered land, if someone wants to sell that land to another person and the person conducts a search, you'll see that the person who is claiming to be selling the land, his name is not on the land as he purports to be selling to. So registration is very, very important, very, very critical.
And if you actually, do all these 4 processes that you've given us so far, 4 or 5, there's the beginning, first, ascertain the ownership. Second, interest of the land. Yeah. 3rd, do your due diligence. And then 4th, documentation and registration, right?
Yes.
Now, if you do all that, you are avoiding future disputes. However, we do have lots of land cases in our courts. What explains it? Or what are some of the common types of land disputes in Ghana? And how can we, listening to you now, avoid them?
Yes, sweetie, it goes back to my earlier statement that land is fixed. The nature of land is that it's fixed. So we have exhausted most of the lands that we have. So we are all scrambling to fit in.
Yeah. this small Accra, especially.
Yes, is a commodity that is not easily available anymore. So that is one of the reasons why we have so much litigation in land. And it is the way lands has been handed down to us. And that is most parts of the Ghana, as I mentioned earlier, the land is owned by the Stu family or individuals. How did they come into owning this land? It is passed through oral history. So there are issues of boundaries. Yes, because it is that our forefathers were the first to settle on this land.
Yeah.
Our family conquered this family and settled on these lands. These are not,
my land ends here and yours begins there. And
these are not
the conflicts.
Things that are documented for us to know whether what you are saying is true. But it is oral history that has been passed on. So that accounts for most of the boundary disputes and who owns this land and all that. And we also have the issue of greed. Now people sell land to somebody. Maybe in the next 5 years, the land has appreciated in value. He wants to sell it to another person. That's the double sale of land. Yes, people do that because of greed. So we will continue to have these land litigations.
Yeah.
And the other one is the failure to conduct the due diligence or not involving a lawyer at the outset.
Having done all this, do you still need a building permit to build your dream house?
Yes.
What's the significance of that, and what are the challenges you stand to face if you don't?
Building permit is a requirement for all buildings.
Because most people confuse, documentation and title and all that with the building permit.
Yeah.
So clarify that.
The building permit is something that you have to approach the municipal assembly or the district assembly where you acquire the land. So you need to know, they require some things, the site plan, the drawings, the kind of building that you are going to put up and all that. They need to know so that they give you advice on how to go about it. And the land may be a marshy area, maybe there are technical people at the lands, at the district assembly, the planning units of those assemblies who would go through all the processes for you to acquire a permit. And a permit is very important before you even attempt to put up a building, or else they may come and get a court order to pull it down.
Right. This has been an insightful conversation, and we will wrap up in a few minutes. But let's talk about financing for land acquisition. Do you think that we have financing options available for young people to acquire lands in this country? And I mean, it's your being out there dealing with land issues here and there. What has inflation done to the value of lands now as we speak?
With the financing, I don't know if I'm the right person to
okay,
yes,
but
maybe the finance people. Yes, but most people acquire lands through their own coffers. I know there are some banks and some institutions that are giving mortgage loans and all that, but they give it to the formal sector or the people who have, yes, someone, a woman in Mokola or someone who is engaged in trading. Maybe the requirement for you to be able to access a loan.
Okay, so let's move away from that.
Yes.
In terms of environmental and regulatory considerations, there are instances where you have a land, you've done your due diligence and all that, but there are some environmental regulations that, prohibit you from building how you want, in the style that you want, on a particular land. And it's just some sort of considerations from regulations and environmental agencies.
Yes, so that is the assembly at the area where you acquire the land, and the there are units, government units, that are responsible for all these things.
And they can actually put restrictions on the type of building you should put up?
Of course. The reason being that there are places that are zoned for recreational purposes.
Okay.
Are zoned for, maybe the place is supposed to be a road, or it's supposed to be a future park for children or something. So you need to have all these things considered. So if you, let's say you acquire a land that is not, that has been zoned for, let's say, forestry purposes.
Okay.
You may not be having good title because you acquired it for the wrong purposes. And we also have industrial areas, places that are set out for industries.
Yeah.
We have places that are set out for residential purposes. We have places that are set out for commerce. So you, if you were to, that is why you realize that some residents take churches to court.
Ah, yeah.
Yes, because it's zoned out to be a
residential area, and then you put up a church. Also, I can sue my neighbors.
Yes.
I have a church
in
right
fact,
beside my house.
In fact, there are court cases that the residents have won those cases against the churches. Okay. So you need to do maybe a soundproof church that the sound doesn't go out. So these are some of the things that you consider, that it must, what you want to do conforms to how the place has been zoned.
True.
Yeah, whether that the purpose for which the place has been zoned out for.
John?
Yes, really.
What would be your final word? I mean, and right before I let you go, would you say it's more prudent to build a house or to buy one? And then you can give me your final thoughts.
Or
your advice to people hoping to acquire a piece of land.
If you have the means to acquire, why not? You can just buy one.
Yeah.
Buy one, but all of them have their advantages and disadvantages. Yes.
Yeah.
So if you buy a land, for instance, and everything is in place, you build your future dream house, however you want it to be. That is how you want it. You build it the way you want. However, if you acquire or if you buy an already built house too, that is on to you. Maybe you have seen the specs, you have seen that everything is in place and you're buying.
It's about personal preferences.
Yes.
So wait, if you buy a house on a piece of land that, what should I use the word, expires in 10 years, what do you do when that time is up? Maybe it was bought for, the leasehold, 99 years, but you've only come to occupy that house for 20 years and your time is up. What do you do?
That is a problem. It's a very big issue that when people are buying houses, they do not know what they are buying. To them, they think they are buying
a house forever.
That may not be the case.
Yeah.
Maybe the person has stayed on the land for 60 years. He has stayed on the land for 80 years. So what he has is 10 years. So when you don't do the due diligence properly and you buy that house, it means that you live in that house for 10 years.
Your advice to those seeking to acquire land?
Yes, my advice is get a lawyer. Get a lawyer. It's always good to pay the legal fees, which is usually not anything huge, than to get into litigation and you now come. When you get into litigation, it's the fees is a bit expensive than if you had spoken to the lawyer earlier to conduct all the due diligence processes for you.
Will we see you at the mini fair or the main fair?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I'll be.
I would like to continue the conversation over there.
Right.
But, I mean, to those of you watching us, remember that the third mini fair is coming off on the 13th of September to the 15th of September at Accra Mall from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. That is the third mini fair, the Joy News EcoBank Habitat Fair happening. The main fair, though, is coming off on the 30th of October to the 2nd of November at the International Conference Center. However, what you're seeing on your screen right now is our third mini fair, the build-up to the main fair. And it's still on the theme, get a house, make it a home. Don't forget, Accra Mall, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And it's from September 13th to September 15th, 2024. Mr. John A. Agazi Esquire.
Akazi.
Agazi.
Akazi.
Akazi. Akazi, where are you from?
I'm from Bolga.
Oh, Bolga, okay.
Precisely Zoko.
Zoko.
In fact, I'm proud of my place, so
yeah.
Usually I'm from Zoko. So.
Thank you so much for shining light on all the important things that should be considered when acquiring a land.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure.
Yes.
There's still more coming your way on the AM show. I'll be right back.
$928,523 farmers, cropping 1.8,557,000 hectares are at risk. And I'm talking about those at risk. These farmers will lose an estimated investment of 7.4 billion cedis if there is total crop failure. The 928,523 farmers cropping 1.8,507,000 hectares, those at risk, they will lose an estimated investment of 7.4 billion if there is total crop failure. The corresponding revenue loss is estimated at 22.2 billion. So the investment is what they put in seeds, in inputs, fertilizers, farm hands, and all that they put into crop. That is 7 billion. The revenue is the sales, what they will derive from the investment that they will make. And that is estimated at 22 billion, representing 10% of agriculture GDP, which in itself is about 220 billion. As at 20th August, 435,872 farmers cultivating an estimated area of 871,000 hectares have been directly affected. So earlier on, I talked about those at risk being 928,523. The 435,872 are those that have been confirmed as affected as at 20th August, and the audit is still ongoing. With the projected shortfall in grain supply, government will tap into the ECOWAS grain reserve and partner with the private sector to bridge the gap. Government will also bring in 300,000 metric tons of maize and 150,000 metric tons of rice to provide food support to vulnerable farmers who have lost their crop and also for the market. Additionally, we will bring in a total volume of 26,000 metric tons of poultry feed to directly support the poultry industry as maize, their main raw material, has been severely affected. And of the at-risk, we have been able to confirm 435,000, cultivating 871,000 hectares. Government has decided to provide financial support amounting to 1,000 Ghana cedis per hectare to the most vulnerable among these farmers as partial cover for their investment. Government will also provide affected vulnerable farmers with some food grant to enable them meet their minimum nutritional requirement.
We are seeking to raise about $500 million US, the equivalent of 8 billion Ghana cedis, to fund the crisis response program. This is so much money. But we are doing this also at a time when our buffers are almost depleted. And so we intend to trigger the processes for accessing the contingency fund. We are also doing what we call budgetary alignment to reallocate some funds that were originally meant for other purposes towards addressing the crisis. And so together, 2.5 billion Ghana cedis being mobilized from the budget side. We're also relying on our development partners, and we've had serious engagements with our development partners over the past 1 week or so. And within this short period, we can report that we are able to secure 155 million US dollars. That is about 2.4 billion, almost 2.5 billion Ghana cedis. And so out of the 8 billion Ghana cedis we are seeking to mobilize, we can say that we have visibility on about 5 billion Ghana cedis that we want to use, and use it quickly to respond to this crisis.
So there you have it, droughts in 8 regions, forcing governments to, with immediate effect, ban exports of maize, rice and soybean in a move to avert a looming food crisis. And this situation also is estimated to cause some revenue losses of about 10.4 billion Ghana cedis. And the Ministry of Finance is in the process of raising some 8 billion Ghana cedis, as you saw the finance minister addressing the press. And this is supposed to bring in some relief to the affected farmers. Let's discuss this. On phone with me this morning is Dr. Godfred Seidu Jasso, the Deputy Ranking Member on Food, Agriculture and Cocoa Affairs Committee of Parliament. Doc, thank you so much for joining the conversation.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
Great. First, I want to find out from you, what's your assessment of the looming food crisis and the response that government has given us thus far?
First of all, I think the looming food crisis is real. The dry spells have come. In the last 8 weeks, we've not had rain, except in the last 2 or 3 days that the rains have started to come in the northern part of Ghana, and indeed across about 8 regions. Now, the question is, what have we been doing in the last 8 years? You would agree that we have spent over 3 billion Ghana cedis over a 7-year period on a flagship project that is supposed to throw out food produce for this country. We have not been able to put in place any strategic storage arrangement in place so that in times like this, we can have access to food stocks. We have the institutions, we have the National Food Buffer Stock, and in the same period, we have consistently starved the National Food Buffer Stock of resources to be able to carry out this mandate. Now, we have had 1 district, 1 warehouse implemented for the last 7 years. How come these warehouses are unable to store any food for us in these times? How come we have said that that project, Planting for Food and Jobs 1, has completed, even though we've not had any evaluation reports or terminal reports of its completion, and we've embarked on a second phase, which for 2 years now have not been able to produce a single grain into the Ghanaian economy. And yet, we spent another 660 million Ghana cedis in 2023 on the second phase of the Planting for Food and Jobs.
Right.
Plus, another 700 million Ghana cedis this year budgeted for Planting for Food and Jobs phase 2. So if you look at this context and you juxtapose that with government response, that it is going to inject 8 billion Ghana cedis in what? Are you going to do conditional cash transfers to people to eat the money? Are you going to import food? So after implementing 7 years of a program that is supposed to produce food for you, 8 weeks of drought, you are left spellbound, and you have to inject 8 billion Ghana cedis. So please, something is not right.
Right.
And we should interrogate these issues further.
Doc, I want us to stay on the figure.
Yes, please.
I want us to stay on the figure for a bit. Now, the government has tasked Finance Ministry to raise that 8 billion. How effective do you believe this financial intervention would be in addressing the immediate challenges? I mean, be that as it may, all the monies that has been sunk into these projects so far, we are facing looming food crisis. How effective do you think this intervention will be in addressing the immediate challenges that we are facing now?
I think I spoke to you in October or to your other colleague, and I said to him that this Planting for Food and Jobs Phase 2, the document that I have read, is just another opportunity for sharing Ghana's resources to colleagues and cronies. Because there's really nothing actionable in that document and that implementation. And this has been proven right. Now, the same way, unless we are given and provided an implementation and a disbursement plan, that we are convinced that that money's disbursement is supposed to tackle the food insecurity situation that we are facing now. But when you start with saying that you are banning food exportation, you see, we don't even have exportation of the grains as we speak now. We are not exporting maize. We are not exporting rice. We are not exporting soya. So when government comes to tell you in a press conference, rightly organized press conference, that they are banning these grains, I put it to you that those grains are not being exported in the first place. So what are you banning? Besides, we are hosting the African Continental Free Trade.
Right.
What is the implication of these policy measures, or if you like, this soldier man kind of measure on our food security situation? We are importing tomato from neighboring countries. We are importing onions from them. We are importing small ruminants from them. Now, the same drought has been occasioned in those countries as well. Just imagine a situation where they decide to also write and ban the exportation of these to our country. Do you know where we will be? So even as a government, we're expecting that government will take a comprehensive review of the situation, involve stakeholders, involve the continental leaders as well, at least ministers of agriculture. Then we can come to a common position on how to deal with this situation sustainably. But when you announce populist measures that you are going to ban food exportation, when in the first place you are not exporting anything, and then you are saying that you are going to inject money, when we have evidence that you've already injected 3.2 billion, and this is where it has brought us, you are going to inject additional 8 billion. We are scared that this is just another avenue to repeat what happened in COVID-19 support from the global community.
But
and that we wouldn't be able to tell where the accountability arrangements have been put in.
Okay.
That is the fear. And so there's a genuine fear that based on the history, this 8 billion, the application of this 8 billion ought to be thoroughly investigated and interrogated to know exactly what we'll be doing, who will be involved. For example, if we are importing food, from where? If we bring the food, why are we dealing with it? Government, private sector, selling at control prices, distributing for free.
Dr. Jessel, So I'll come to you again in a bit about how you're escalating and what you are doing as deputy ranking member. But I mean, you are also the member of parliament for Wa East, and this affects your people there. Are you saying that, I mean, the highlights of the interventions, like the supports for farmers, compensation for affected farmers, and so on and so forth, in no way eases the plight of these farmers? Are you saying there's nothing in there for them, for the people in your constituency as well?
So the people in my constituency have been badly affected. They need to be supported. They need to be compensated. However, we are dealing with a system that has a history. So I'm that unless something is done to ensure that these measures announced are exactly what's going to happen, I fear that the disbursement of this resource will not be different from what we've experienced in the disbursement of the 3.2 or the COVID fund. And this, you and I have lived through it. And so you can appreciate the apprehensions that we have. Because it's common that government announces blanket figures. But as to how it's going to be done and operationalized, nobody tells you that.
Well, fortunately, we have...
When you do an audit, then you realize that these monies actually went to individual pockets and cronies' pockets. That is my fear. So we need some guarantee. We need some assurance that this money is just not a populist announcement and that that money is even available in the first place. What percentage of it is going to food importation? What percentage of it is going to compensation? Compensation for who? What category of farming?
All right, Doc. Fortunately, we have the PRO for the Ministry of Food and Agriculture on the phone with us, so maybe he can help us answer some of these questions. Mr. Tanko Bagbara, thank you for joining the conversation.
Wow.
Great. So I'm not sure. I don't know if you were following Dr. Jasol's submission and some of the questions he's posing as to where the money is going and how you actually intend to alleviate the plight of the people. So you give us an overview of what these interventions really are and the timelines that you're working with. And then we get into the nitty-gritty of it.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity and a very good morning to your listeners and viewers as well. I did listen to Doc. He's my senior brother and MP. Normally, I wouldn't do this speaking to politicians on a platform. Normally, I wouldn't do it. But I owe it a duty as a professional to speak to the issues. And first of all, I want to allay the fears of my senior brother and MP that it is not an avenue to, as it were, disbate the public funds. And we're given the highest level of assurance that this package announced there's going to be a task force. And of course, the minister has made it open that whoever wishes Ghana well and wants to be part of this team for us to secure our foods is welcome to come on board. Yes, the PFJ 2.0, as we all know, is an input subsidy program which replaces an input credit system, which replaces the input subsidy that we used to practice. And indeed, we did this to open it up for commercial and mechanized agriculture. Because as a country, if we want to go beyond food security and industrialize, then we need to go commercial, and that is a way forward. With the PFJ 2.0, we have a platform that you can actually monitor and track whatever investment that is made into the program. So we call it the Ghana Agriculture and Agribusiness Platform, which is called the GHC. Gone are the days where we use pen and paper to register farmers. Farmers can go and register by themselves for the first phase. The second phase, our agri extension officers will bring you on. They will map out your farm polygon onto the system. So at the click of the button, we know that Kofi Mensah does maize in Tachiman. This is the size of his farm. Kofi Mensah actually requested for 10 bags of fertilizer, 100 kg of seed. So all that is transparent on the platform. Under this year under review, we have several input distribution packages. One is for the vulnerable groups. And with that, my senior brother will recall that the minister wrote to him, to all members of parliament, offering them the opportunity in their various constituencies and districts. They should identify 100 vulnerable farmers, and these inputs are given to them to give it to these vulnerable groups. Again, the DC is in every district, and municipal and metropolitan assemblies have been given the opportunity to identify 100 vulnerable groups or persons with disabilities that want to enter into agriculture and give them these inputs. Again, we had 15 for the district directors of agriculture to do same. When we come to the Akosombo Dam spillage victims, through the World Bank, the ministry is actually supporting farmers and restoring them to their livelihood. Inputs have been given for us in the form of grants. And then when we come to the PJ 2.0, it's what we call the input credit system, where inputs are given to you. You don't pay by cash, but when you harvest, we take we recover wet produce, which is sent to government warehouse. So I give my senior brother MP the highest level of assurance that the system is so transparent, and if he want to visit us at the ministry, we'll walk him through this the dashboard for him to see the number of farmers who have registered, those who have requested for input. Everything is on display there. Now let's deal with the predicament that we have at hand. This calls for measures that will sustain our food security. We all know the quantity of grains that come from the north and the middle belt. Over 62% of our grain needs, which is maize, soya, sorghum, and all that, comes from the northern part of the country. My senior brother knows we have what we call millet. You can't find millet in any part of this country, if not the northern part of our country. So we are simply saying that we want to be food secure. For the next quarter of the year, we know northern Ghana, we do harvest from November, December. It's this harvesting season. And that is when we have our neighbors trooping into our farm communities. In fact, they pitch camp. And then they buy the grains off the farmers from the farm gate and take it out to unapproved routes. We want that to stop so that the little harvest that is expected, we will be able to protect it to serve our food security needs. We also know that the soya bean is mostly cultivated in these areas, and it's a hot industrial crop for the livestock sector. And we know we have foreigners who are actually in this country, and that is their trade. So when they take this out, our livestock sector is going to suffer. So this place of ban, normally, we did it before by executive approval. We did it before. It worked to a large extent, but this time around we want it to work to the latter. And therefore, there's strong collaboration with Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Local Government, to ensure that even we, as citizens, should police this process and ensure that no single grain is taken out.
Right.
Yes,
Mr. Bagbara, please hold for me. Mr. Bagbara, did we or were we exporting these grains before now? Because, you know, Mr. Jasso was just saying that we don't even export these in the first place. So why the ban now on the exports of these grains? Were we exporting? And if we did, what was the quantity that we were exporting?
Well, I won't be able to give you figures as I speak, but like I just mentioned, at harvest, you come to our region, Upper West, that I can clearly, I have seen and can speak to it, that our neighbors pitch camps in our communities. And because the farmers need ready cash, they offer this produce to these farmers. We're also aware this industrial crop, soya bean, we have some foreigners in town. And those are the examples I can immediately cite.
Right.
So these unapproved routes, we cannot even account for the quantities of export, illegal export that goes into neighboring countries. For that, it is real and it is on record. However, we need data with regards to exports. I think the Ministry of Trade and Industry can help us with those figures.
So then, I mean, I'm curious to know what explains buffer stock struggles to cope with the increased demand and the reduced supply, caused by the adverse weather conditions. But what happened to the buffer stock?
Yes, so we all know that as a country, we've never practiced the buffer stock system. And that is why PFJ 2.0 is proposing this, that out of the recoveries, 5% will be put in what we call national strategic stock, which will serve as a buffer. Buffer stock company, we know, lacks the credit facility to go into the capital market, as it were, borrow and be able to mop up whatever is in the system. And therefore, we, at the buffer stock, what they will normally do is to license producer buying institutions, and then they go into the community and mop up for buffer stock to pick and for onward distribution to state institutions. For some time now, that is what they have been doing. We have not, as a country, practiced the buffer stock system. So under PFJ 2.0, that is what we are seriously pushing to ensure our resilience when it comes to food security. And I think in that regard, buffer stock will have a more expanded role to play in that area.
And what timelines are we working with? For example, in terms of compensation, that's 1,000 cedi per hectare compensation. When are you going to start disbursing these monies to these farmers? Give us the timelines for the entire intervention.
Yes, as the Minister for Finance mentioned yesterday, even this cash that he put forward is not all going to come in the form of cash. Of course, we have our development partners who have offered to support, maybe in terms of inputs, in terms of produce, wet. So it's a process that we are rolling. As we speak, our M&E officers are even still on the farm and trying to do detailed correlation of data and analysis. Based on that, the task force will be put in place. Let me also state that in order to give a package to our farmers who may still have grains and want to sell, government says that we want to mop up and put in strategic stock. So approach any of our district agriculture offices and tell them I have X amount of, X quantity of rice or maize, and then government will be ready to mop up into strategic stocks. So it's a process. As the days unfold, we will be updating Ghanaians as far as these interventions are concerned.
Right. And then beyond the immediate 8 billion allocation, what long-term strategies does the government have in place to prevent future agricultural crises like we're seeing now? I mean, is it safe to say that we didn't plan for this? And if so, what are we putting in place to ensure that the future doesn't meet us in the same situation?
Yes, the immediate measure we need to put in place, first of all, is to be able to understand our climate change very well. And as a result, even yesterday, the minister had to meet with the meteorological agency to strengthen our collaboration. The ministry, through our program, FSRP, is supporting them with some equipment, which will, as I speak, about 20 of them are going to be installed across the country to help them be able to predict and advise us as farmers. In fact, they've been embedded now. They've been embedded in the agriculture and agribusiness platform, where farmers will have direct access to very reliable weather information that will inform the planning in terms of our calendar of production. The other area we need to look at as a country is the irrigation infrastructure development. Thankfully, so much has been done. The power irrigation scheme went through vigorous rehabilitation. It is functional now. When you go to Tono, Navrongo, that scheme has also gone through a complete rehabilitation, very functional. As we speak, via irrigation is undergoing. As we speak, Afram Plains, we have the Afram Plains Economic Enclave Irrigation Scheme. That is also happening. And when all these things are put to full use, then as a country we'll be moving away from the rain-fed agriculture into a more reliable source of water. With water, you can be assured that production, you get good yields.
Mr. Bagbara, hold for me. Dr. Jasal, so, I mean, what are your reflections on some of the responses that the PRO for the Food and Agriculture Ministry is saying to us this morning?
Okay, thank you, Titi. And I thank my brother, Tanko, for doing a very good public relations work. You agree with me that the focus of our conversation is on the crisis we find ourselves in and what the announced measures will do and whether that will be sustainable. I heard my brother talk a lot about planting and stew and how great plus and how they have got that and how they are using to vulnerable families and so on and so forth. You see, with a way yours on this position, what I like is that you have identified 200 vulnerable farmers in all farming in this district. You've given the inputs to them, and the inputs have been used.
Doc, we are getting some interference in your submission. Could you kindly just reposition and try again? We're losing you there a bit.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Is it better now?
Yes, it's better. Please go ahead.
Okay. So what you have done, all you have put in is actually suffering from drought. And there's a risk that the food will not come from those fields. Now, you have also shifted from input subsidy that was supposed to be supporting smallholder farmers to an input credit system led by private sector. As we speak, some of those aggregators, the so-called private sector, are yet to advance inputs to farmers to be able to use to cultivate for this year. The few that have also got these inputs used, but at risk of losing those produce that are envisaged to come out. That's why we are in a crisis. So that's the reality. So whatever flowery descriptions you've given about GAP and how the planting goes, what is resulting is that we fear that we will not be getting the grain. Now, if you think of the situation where we are getting the grain, and you are saying that you are putting a ban on exports, I'm arguing that you have not always been successful in executing the ban because of the nature of our geography and our surrounding country. You have been reported to tell us that even the fertilizer that you have subsidized have ridden on the backs of donkeys and gotten their way into the neighboring country. What has happened to these donkeys? So you have always not utilized the national buffer stock for one reason. It was just political infighting between the last Minister of Agriculture and the CEO of buffer stock. We've called all of them to committee, and we'll be able to establish this fact. The truth is that the National Food Buffer Stock was established to be able to play this critical role.
Right.
And that they were not just primarily supposed to buy food and give to school feeding projects. No. That's an after activity. It's not the core activity. The core activity was for the buffer stock to have license buying companies or subsidiaries across the country. Annually, the buffer stock will set commodity prices for our grain. And that they set these prices informed by the cost of production. So if cost of production of, say, a bag of maize is 50 Ghana cedis, the buffer stock will add a margin and say maybe 60 Ghana cedis, so that the farmer can be encouraged to sell either to the market or to the buffer stock and yet not run at a loss. That way, the farmer is encouraged to continue producing in subsequent years. Now, we let buffer stock to relate on that obligation. So they don't announce commodity prices. They don't have the money to go and buy excess food produce in the market. And so what happens is that the farmers also cannot hold this produce. One, they don't have good storage systems. They don't have good processing systems. So what happens is that the neighboring market come in and take advantage of it in informal ways. So just last year, you recall paddy rice producers were complaining in Upper East region that they have produced a lot of paddy and yet there was no market. Right. Government had no silos to store them. And so the only rational, plausible solution was for them to sell it to any available market. And our counterparts from Nigeria came and bought them through unauthorized routes and unauthorized systems. So you can't even track that as Ministry of Trade. How much more Ministry of Agric? So my point is that those things that my brother has explained are more in theory than in practice.
Right.
And for now, we should stop the politics of it. We have a reality, we have a challenge on the ground, and our population is at risk of food insecurity.
Doug,
so if we go by the business as usual measures, it's not going to help us. That's the point I'm making.
Doug, I want to bring in the executive director of Peasant Farmers, but just quick thoughts before I move on from you. The Brian Champon mentioned that we contribute to the ECOWAS grain fund or grain reserve. Is that something that we should be happy about, because there's something for us over there, and we even have some of the storage points here in Ghana. It's something to celebrate.
So Ghana tended to store some of those grain buffers for ECOWAS and won the bid. So Ghana is holding some strategic stock for ECOWAS.
Yeah.
I think 500,000 metric tons or something. I've forgotten the figure, but I can always check.
Okay.
Now what would that do? It's not for Ghana. It's for the rest of the sub-region. What are the modalities in utilizing that? How much of it is going to come to Ghana? At what conditions? So it's a no in the first place. If you rely on that, you will be deluding your people. And that's not going to help.
Okay.
So the truth, just before you leave, my brother mentioned irrigation and so on. You see, we have existing completed water facilities in the system. We have not done well in making sure we have water facility user education and capacity for our farming. So most of these dams are lying there, and farmers only allow their animals to go and drink from them. But utilize them in irrigation agriculture has not been as aggressive as we have thought. I hope that the ministry can rewrite their nose and focus on making sure that happens in the context of climate change. Titi, you also remember the greenhouses. We have over 70 greenhouses at Greater Accra, here.
Right.
Now, and in Dawena. Now, these greenhouses have a capacity of solving the tomato and onion requirement for our economy. And yet, for 7 years, we've abandoned that project. See, this is where we need such initiatives. The infrastructure is there, and we'll not be able to use them. Because when political parties change hands, the new agric minister then just abandoned them. Okay. And this minister has not also continued. I'm sure he has not had a lot of time to deal with those things coming to office since October anyway. So these are the problems. And so there's a real challenge. And I hope that this conversation does not degenerate into a partisan banter. Because 2-3 months down the line, we'll be all caught hands down. Okay. And it's important that we deliberate on these issues dispassionately, devoid of partisan interest and outreach, and make sure that we get the best of the $8 billion that the minister has promised. And I tell you, one, that money isn't going to come the way we talked about it. That's one. Two, we need to have a disbursement arrangement and how that money will be spent. Every Ghanaian must come up, because we have a history of monies like that being voted for by this government, and this government has squandered them. So
I'm sure
it cannot be counted.
Timecodes elaborates more on how they're disbursing this. But I want to bring in Bismarck Tete, and he's Executive Director for the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. Bismarck, thank you for joining the AM show. I want to hear from you what these interventions change in your current struggles, amidst this drought, and what you make of the compensations that the Minister Champon is proposing to give you as farmers, that 1,000 per hectare compensation.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. Indeed, yesterday we listened to the minister outline measures to mitigate the effects of the dry spell. And I must admit that when we had the press conference last week to highlight the effect of the dry spell, some of these recommendations were made. So it's just in good order to acknowledge that some of them were adhered to. The issue is that one, regarding the ban on the exports, which seems to be the highlight of the whole measures.
Right.
I think that the approach is a bit premature in our opinion.
Premature.
We think that the process to do that was, yes, and the process to do that was not consultative to ensure that farmers don't suffer the adverse effects of the impending ban. Now, the reason why we are making this point is that, this is not the first time government has tried to announce the ban on cereals, especially maize and soya. And you realize that anytime these bans are announced, the effect is that farmers suffer low prices. Because what this ban does is that it limits the number of buyers who are available to buy produce from farmers. And what it does is that farmers are now being compelled to sell at low prices, which do not make up for their cost of production. So our expectation was that if you were going to announce a ban, that it shouldn't be in isolation. There should be other complementary measures that will ensure that the farmer is not shortchanged. And we were expecting that, because I heard you mention that if you're a farmer and you have your produce and you want to sell, you can contact the agric directors or the district agric directors.
Yeah.
But at what price? And at what price would they sell that produce, or would they buy the produce of the farmer? We do not know. What is the guarantee that when the farmers go, the price that they will offer are prices that make sense to the farmer? So the best thing we could have done was to at least set a minimum price that the government is ready to buy at price A or at price B. If the farmer realizes that the price is competitive, I can tell you that there is no motivation for any farmer to go and sell outside when he or she knows that you can sell within Ghana and make your money back. So that is the one of the issues that we have with the ban. And we feel that if government wants it to work, they should look at the other measures to ensure that farmers are not shortchanged. Then the issue about the cash grant that the government intends to give. My understanding of what the minister said is that out of the over 400,000 farmers that were directly affected, the ministry was going to select the vulnerable of the 400,000 and give them cash transfer of 1,000 cedis per hectare. Our issue is that, one, which criteria is the ministry going to use to identify the vulnerable out of the 400,000? And if those things are not clear, it opens up room for abuse of the process. And we've seen instances where government interventions are being taken over by politicians. And for instance, what is happening with the PFD? So our fear is that if we do not have in place adequate measures, transparent mechanisms that ensure that the right farmers are actually benefiting, then I'm sorry, it might be an avenue for government to perpetrate vote buying as we approach an election year. And that's a fear that we have.
Right.
So we are hoping that we put in place very transparent mechanisms, ensure that farmers are able to do that. And then when it comes to the input support, my understanding is that the ministry is saying that they are going to use the Ghana Agriculture and Agribusiness Platform under the PFG 2.0 to register the farmers who will benefit from the input support. I also have a problem with that, because this same platform is being used under the current PFG 2.0. And there have been several challenges with the platform.
Like
the
what?
first place is that if you go to several districts, you can have a district that have about just 5 or 8 extension officers who are supposed to register over 80,000, 90,000 farmers. And these officers are not even able to move to do the registration. They are not able to locate farmers to do the registration. Some of them even do not have the equipment, that's the laptops, to even do that, or even have fuel to move. So if you are going to put this responsibility back on them with these same challenges, what is the guarantee that all the affected farmers will be able to register under the platform to benefit?
Okay.
So if you are putting in place that measure, what is the alternative that you put in place to ensure that the farmers who are affected are actually identified, they are registered, and they properly benefit? So I think that even though the approach we understand is an emergency situation, we need a lot of measures to ensure that we get the best out of it. If not, then it's an exercise in futility. I'm sorry for that.
Bismarck said, thank you for me. And hold for me. We still have Tanko Bagbara on the line with us. Tanko, so 3 main issues for you to address. First, did you engage these farmers to understand what their needs really are and how these interventions would affect or reflect on their struggle? And 2, what criteria are you using to identify these vulnerable people who are receiving that cash compensation? And then 3, the issue about inadequate facilities, using that PFJ.2 system to disburse this money for those that fall under the category of vulnerable farmers.
Yeah, so let me say I appreciate the position of your panelists, especially my senior brother and MP, Doctor. Yeah, so it is very necessary for us to do this sort of engagement that gives us a lot of more ideas that we can bring on board. And the common goal is to fight hunger in Ghana. And I think their views are well noted, and it will be put into consideration to ensure that the resources that we are gathering as a nation will be put to judicious use. So in terms of identifying vulnerable farmers, as I mentioned, the District Director of Agriculture, the DCs, and the MPs, they are on the ground. They are in the community. They will be in a better position to identify these farmers. Yes, with the distribution of inputs and whatever interventions to ensure accountability, yes, we have the agribusiness and agriculture and agribusiness platform. All will be captured on that platform for us to have the transparency and a record that we can always.
But he said there are some challenges with that, though. Like some of the farmers don't have computers and all those challenges. How would you address that to ensure that you actually reach as many people as need to be reached for this?
Please come again. I didn't hear.
Okay, so Bismarck was saying that the problem with using the agric and agribusiness platform is that some of the farmers don't have computers and access to internet and all those challenges. And so if you're using, that is the only medium to identify and disburse funds, then you'll be leaving some people out.
Yes, I understand the situation in which we are. Even when it came to the farmer registration, we had those challenges. Those who are unable to use smartphones had that challenge, and our AEs were given some gadgets to be able to assist farmers to register. And provision was also made for self-registration. So we are going to go through same procedure. Last year we had challenges when it came to registration. We had our tablets breaking down. Since then, new tablets have been procured, and all agric extension officers have functional tablets that are available for us to deploy.
Are you saying you are going to use the same procedure, although the peasant farmers are saying that would leave some of these farmers shortchanged? Is that what you're saying?
I just mentioned that when we started the farmer registration, we have some challenges with the technology, but we've since perfected. We've worked on the
so you've
platform.
Worked on these challenges.
We can work
no longer exist
offline. We can work offline, and then with internet, you onboard everything online. So those challenges have been sorted out, and it is working perfectly as we speak.
Hold for me, please. Bismarck, is that correct? The PRO is saying that those challenges have been perfected and it's working now. When was the last time you checked?
I don't think...
When last did you check?
I don't think that is exactly That's exactly the case. I understand where he's coming from, but that was not exactly the case. Because even just last week, I was in the field, even around, not even in northern Ghana, even around southern Ghana, in the western region. And you could have a situation where in a particular district, you have just about 4 extension officers who are supposed to register in about 60,000, 70,000 farmers. And these extension officers, they even tell you that the gadget that they have to use, some of them are even broken down. And some of the extension officers do not have even the means to even move to the farmers to register. So even in some districts in Western region, I can tell an authority that not even a single farmer has been able to benefit from the PAV 2.0 because their data has not been captured on the platform.
Okay.
And this situation exists across the country. So even though I understand where he's coming from, the situation is much more bigger than what he's saying.
All right. So, Mr. Tanko Bagwara, we do have to go, but maybe you can wrap up on, you heard him there, he said that the situation is bigger than what the picture you're painting. But Dr. Jassau also raised the issue of how you are going to be disbursing this 8 million investment.
Yes, so
what's the plan there?
For disbursement the modality for disbursement will be determined in the coming days. Like I said, the ministry is not just going to do this alone. We have our DPs, we have our partners who are interested in this, and we'll be forming that task force that will ensure that this national assignment is carried out to the letter and without any form of issues that will dissipate the public purse. So all I'll say is that we take note of their concerns, and moving forward, all these concerns will be factored into decision making.
Dr. Jassau, I'll give you the final word.
Thank you very much. I admire the approach of the PRO that it's still rolling out and they are amenable to inputs and suggestions. And so I also like the fact that he's acknowledging the development partners, because in fact last week I did engage some development partners on this subject matter, and I'm aware that they are putting in place packages to do that. And I won't be surprised that that's part of the 8 billion, if not the whole, that the ministry is already announcing. And I hope that if it is from development partners, government alone doesn't appropriate it to itself. Number 2 is about the quantum of support. 1,000 cedis per hectare.
Yeah.
A hectare is 2.5 acres. And so they're looking at current value of Ghana cedis. You see that that's really next to nothing for a farmer for even a month, how much more a whole year. And so I hope that we can be able to put in place arrangements that can bring in a lot more support around the subject, so that if we have to compensate in cash terms, but also in some food produce terms as well for the very vulnerable families. For the commercial entities, a discussion with the finance institutions where their credit, etc., loans have been taken from, if there can be some kind of a moratorium on when they can repay this and under what conditions, that will cushion the commercial farmers in a way that can allow them to survive through this. But be it as it may, in the end, as a committee, we will invite the ministry to come for further deeper deliberations around this subject matter.
Okay.
And so that we as people's representatives will ensure that the right thing is done even in this current dying situation.
Okay.
As for the GAP system as a tool to be able to disburse this, I think we still need some supplementary arrangement to be able to do that, because the GAP system is not comprehensive enough. It is an ongoing database gathering. It's not complete at all. In my district, for example, I have about 90,000 population. About 75% of them are farmers, and just about 3,000 farmers have been registered.
Okay.
And so it's a no. It won't reach the farmers that we need to reach.
Okay. Hopefully we get the details and updates on that interaction with the ministry when you invite them. But you had the Dr. Godfred Seidu Jasal, the deputy ranking member on food. I almost left you out. Bismarck Tete, you have the final word now. Bismarck, are you still with us? I think.
Yeah,
okay.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. And I think that when you are in such an emergency situation, the best approach is to have very inclusive and constructive process to ensure that all stakeholders have their say and ensure that no one is disadvantaged because of an intervention you are putting in place. So I'll urge the ministry that they should open up their doors for us to engage the concerns we have regarding the ban, the concerns we have regarding the cash transfer and input credit. I think that once we're able to address it, we should be able to implement something that will benefit the farmers. But in the long term, it should also give us an insight as to what we should do in the long term. Because this is an indictment on all the investments we have done with regards to irrigation development in the country. And going forward as a country, I think we should have a position as to what practical steps we are taking to ensure that we give ourselves timelines where we know that at a particular point in time, we have been able to at least irrigate most parts of the country so that we don't fall back into this situation again.
Thank you so much. You heard the Bismarck Tete, the Executive Director for the Peasants Farmers Association of Ghana.
Your call has been...
So 8 billion Ghana cedis to combat the impact of the dry spell on agriculture. In conclusion, the Committee on Agriculture, Food and Cocoa Affairs in Parliament said they would be inviting the Ministry of Agriculture and the PRO for the ministry, saying that they're open to listen to the concerns of the farmers and take note or factor them in going forward. That's how we're wrapping up for this belt of conversations, but there's still more coming your way before we wrap up. Stay with me. And of course, it is 2 days to the Joy News National Freedom Dialogue on defending media freedom ahead of December general elections. You want to join us on Thursday, the 29th of August 2024. But that is how we're wrapping up for the AM show this morning, folks. We brought you that important conversation on everything you need to know when acquiring a piece of land. And then, of course, the biggest story in the country right now, droughts, and that 8 billion to be injected to salvage the situation, as well as that ban on grains like rice, maize, and soybean. For now, Joy News Desk is coming up next, but my name is Sweetie Abochi. Have a blessed day.